All right. I think we welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. This is your host, Mr. Blows Your Mind, and this is We Up Report. This is part 2 of what I originally done. I had to do it over, and so I did not want to leave it not in its entirety because what ended up happening was somehow they blocked one particular part of it, and so when they revamped it, it ended up making it be like you see it talking about this, and then it was in delay. It was a hard delay, so I decided to put it to the side. Let's go ahead and start this all over again. So again, let's start it to this. It says that a forum or forism, a concise statement of a principle. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Who controls the past controls the future. Say that one more again. Aphorism, a concise statement of a principle. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. Who controls the past controls the future.
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I say by that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
And since the American white man has used his control over the press and over the textbooks and over all forms of media to make it appear that he has done us a favor by bringing us here and enslaving us, rewrite history or retell history. And since the white man can't dispute this truth, it's not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here, it's truth. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated, it's truth. It's not hate to say that the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in this country, came up with a hypocritical desegregation decision 9 years ago, which they haven't enforced yet. That's not hate.
Portions of the following program may be unsuitable for younger or more sensitive viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Disclaimer. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowances made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit education or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. This video was made for entertainment purposes and is transformative in nature.
Remember, the enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.
To the We Up Report. This is your host once again, Mr. Blow Your Mind. I want to thank each and every one of you. I know it has been delayed to get here, but I had to get here and do what I had to do. Before we get into the show, I want to give some congratulations and thanks to those who are avid contributors to the show. First of all, we're going to want to go out to right here to this brother here. We want to give a special thanks to Mr. Spencer 0620 again for his Cash App. Family, and I appreciate that so much. And so we want to go ahead and get in because this is going to be part 2 of what I originally had done. And this in particular show was about what was when your OGs despise your truth. Let me say that one more again. When your OGs despise your truth. Now, you know, had been out prior to all that transpired between Ye, that led up to Kyrie, and then how that kind of dissipated. I ended up coming out, but that video ended up getting knocked by YouTube, and I had to go back and revamp it. I didn't like the delay on it. So I said, I'm going to come back because I think there's a message that should be taught or told by what transpired, because there's a lot of dissension because we've seen brothers seem to not know how to be on code when they were OGs, when a young man was in a situation that looks like they should have been in the position to at least advocate in a way of a meeting of our minds that made that situation, at least in somewhat, they could have tried to be in his favor. But we're going to look at what are some of the things that compromise a lot of our brothers and sisters, that when you get into these professions, when you're working for these other people, that it is things that we will have to understand and realize that they compromise you. No matter how good intent, how much you stand and what you profess, you're put in a compromised position. And what we've seen over that ordeal, over the individuals who we all, most of us as men, grow up, fantasize, want to become like sports, emulate, and some even give to the point they put on pedestals. But what you got to see is in real time how when you're in a compromised position of something that you may not agree, but based on the simple fact that you had to be in your profession under certain spirits that control you, that it looks like that we can't be on code. And it put us as people in as a divisive mode. We had those who were against and some who was for. That's not good, especially at this day and time where we are right now as Black Americans, Foundation Black Americans, ADOS, Indigenous, Indigenous. Some even say Moors. My whole umbrella, when I look at us, I call us the Black Americans. We're not talking about a legal position. We're talking about the identity. Just say that everybody from the novice to the expert understand when we say Black, we know who we're talking about. So I wanted to go over this because I thought there was a lot of lessons in there. And so stay tuned as I'm going to get into this and do what I do. But there was a show I seen a couple days ago. And in this show, I want y'all to hear this woman speak about her people. And I want to make a correlation about how sometimes people always say that I don't see other people having these issues. It seems like it's always a Black on Black situation. But check this out, and we'll be right back.
I want to talk about Latinos, because that's always the big surprise, right?
Charlemagne, Charlemagne, so do I. Go ahead.
I mean, the Latino vote was split, right? With 43% voting for Republican Brian Kemp. So why does the Latino vote differ so much from the Black vote?
Because we got our own white people.
Oh.
And people don't understand that we have all, and the assimilation possibility for Latinx, Latina, Latin people is higher. People can come from other parts of Latin America, marry white as like they're told to do, assimilate and assume a white identity that Black people cannot escape from. So they will continue to vote in that way because to them that's upward mobility. And unfortunately for us, success means being patted on the back. Not all of us, because y'all gonna go crazy on Twitter. I ain't got a Twitter, so it's okay. But they get the pat on the back from white people, and they feel like that's what being American is. Damn. And that colorism is real in our community. It is real. Cubans have political asylum, so they don't consider immigration their issue. Puerto Ricans have U.S. citizenship. They don't consider immigration their issue. If there's no solidarity, there's no power. And the reality of it is that you should give a damn about the immigrant, and you should care about political asylum, because at the end of the day, they look at us and they like, look at all the Mexicans. They don't think, they're not like, oh, look, that's a Afro-Latino, or look, she's indigenous. They just see, you already know, everybody needs a bitch. Everybody needs their own bitch. And within our community, we love doing that to each other. We love saying, I have pure Castilian blood, right? Everybody does. Spaniards love fucking everybody. Like, You ain't saying nothing.
You know, it's interesting what I just said about Latinos too, because I don't care how you see yourself, right? You can see yourself as assimilating all you want. The white supremacist system still see a brown person, and they're not gonna treat you no different.
All right, so we back, and that particular show I had seen, it's called Hell of a Week. I think it's by Charlemagne the God, and on there, who that woman who you seen speaking there, her name is, I think it's Ada Rodriguez. She may be a comedian, and as a comedian, she sat there and spoke some truths. Now, many times black people like to assume that black on black is the only ununificated people in this country or around the world. Let me say that one more again. A lot of people like to think that black Americans, FBA, ADOS, Atachis, Indigenous, Moors, all them under the umbrella I call black Americans, that we are the only people who don't seem to have a unified front on code and everything else. But you heard in that conversation that you heard Ada Rodriguez say that Latinos, right? And they were talking about the simple fact that they were talking about voting, and that there was a split between the Latinos, or 60-40 split. And Charlemagne asked the question, well, what's going on with y'all? So she spoke from the heart. She told the truth. And she said that we as Latins, now Latin would be just like me saying black Americans or black people. Latin people have an issue with each other, internal fight, where she said Latinos got our white people. Latin people have their white people. What does she mean by that? She meaning that there's those who identify and know they are Latin people, but they identify their ideology is being white. And so what that means, that's a conflict of interest, because the upward mobility that she's talking about and for success and to be accepted is to be what they say, la raza, la raza. La raza meaning to be what? To be white. And so she's saying that even though we're Latin, and then she gave some other insights to saying that the distinction in that Latinness is to say, for instance, those who are Cubans have a certain asylum that they get to come here. Those from another part, I think she said those, I forgot who the other group was, but that group in particular has another, so they don't fall the same when they look at immigration, and when they fall and look at those of all of Latinist people, based on their own self-interest, they all don't see the same. And so I'm asking the question, as black folks, do we have that same issue? Is our issue similar to what she just spoke about, when she said that in the Latin group that there's an internal dissension? And is our internal dissension because if we say black, when we blanket that black and make black before those of the Caribbeans, those from the continent of Africa, right? And we all hear what they call the melting pot. Does everybody that come here under the term of black have a different agenda for being here? Those of us who have the historical lineage to this land, we are different in our ideology and the things that we seek for, our agenda, while other people come here based on seeking asylum, seeking for economic, mobility, or trying to, what they say, seeking asylum. They have different agendas. So do we have that same thing? And then a lot of times you hear a lot of people, when you look at some of these corners, they're always talking about how black people can't get along. Is it because that other people have their own different agendas? And with that being said, when we seen the Kyrie Irving situation, you can be compromised because of the difference of what your stance is, even though you may be of same cut, of the same cloth, as the same ethnicity of people, but your agenda may be different. And so when your agenda is different, you cannot be unified, because what we see, we all collectively may see, but we may all perceive it differently. You know, everybody use the kickstand to say, oh, my opinion. That's my opinion. Okay, they can be your opinion, but then truth gonna always be true, and we're gonna always be in one accord when it's something true. but my truth may not be your truth because your struggle may not be the same struggle as mine. Your family may not be going through the hardship my family is going through. So I can sidestep a situation. I can see you in a situation, but if it's not relevant and prevalent to me, I can act as if like it has no relevance to me. And so what did we see? We've seen the compromising of, again, for those of us who've been in here for many suns and many moons, we've seen brothers being compromised, had to go on this media before the world and had to do things that compromised whether that was their stance or not, but they had a choice to make and it didn't look good. It didn't feel good, right? So just as here, as some people will say they never hear anybody from another persuasion of people say this, well, guess what? You just heard that woman right there talk about how Latin people have an internal fight, and those who want to be white are a problem to those who want to be Latin. Then she said something to the fact about that in that internal fight, Latin people say they need a bitch. Let me say that again. She also said that in that internal fight, that in that pyramidical, let's say a pyramid scheme within higher ranks and social ranking, that in that Latinness, somebody got to be the bitch. When we talk about Black people in the United States, who is considered the bitch in Black America or in the America or United States? If we say that this is a melting pot, so that means we have different people from different geographical locations, have different agendas while they're here. So then those who historically are Black here, based on the fact that we may play the game of social status, economic status, and wealth, right? So let's say there's the so-called Black echelon, the excellent ones, and there's the middle class, and then there's the poor. So that means that if those who come here seeking for asylum and better life, who get a lot of the perks, have a step over somebody. And that means to me that the lumpen proletariats, the Blacks who are at the bottom, become the bitch of Blacks in the United States. Let me say that again. So that means that, like she said about the bitch in Latins, the bottom ones. So who becomes the bottom in Black in the United States? The poor Blacks in America become the bitch to all Blacks, which means we can be used and abused, because as long as you got somebody that you're over, I don't feel the pain that you feel, and that separates me, right? So we're gonna go through this, and matter of fact, I gotta hold on. Let's see. I got somebody sent me a comment over here. Leonard DeYuta, what's good, my brother? Glad to see you stop by. Go ahead and put that up there for me right quick. All right, good to see you stop by, brother. So with that being said, I'm going to go through some things here. Again, we're going to talk about this. We're going to go back to the beginning, the origin of how this all started when Kyrie Irving did, after it became announced that he had posted what he posted. Let's go back and look at some of this, because again, I believe this was a great teaching moment. Again, people talk about on code, people talk about unification. People had their gripes about what they saw and they didn't like it. But nobody is going to do what we do over here is we report. We're going to go and we're going to break this down. So let's go ahead and look at this and be right back.
I'm in a unique position to have a level of influence on my community. And what I post does not mean that I support everything that's being said or everything that's being done, or I'm campaigning for anything. All I do is post things for my people in my community and those that it's actually going to impact. Anybody else that has criticism, it obviously wasn't meant for them. I'm no different than the next human being, so don't treat me any different. You guys come in here and make up this powerful influence I have over top of the adultery of, oh, you cannot post that. Why not?
Why did you decide to promote something that Alex Jones said?
That was a few weeks ago. I do not stand with Alex Jones' position, narrative, court case that he had with Sandy Hook, or any of the kids that felt like they had to relive trauma, or parents that had to relive trauma, or to be dismissive to all the lives that were lost during that tragic event. My post was a post from Alex Jones that he did in the early 90s or late 90s about secret societies in America of occults. And it's true. So I wasn't identifying with anything of being a campaignist for Alex Jones or anything. I was just there to post. And it's funny, and it's actually hilarious, because out of all the things I posted that day, that was the one post that everyone chose to see. It just goes back to the way our world is and works. I'm not here to complain about it. I just exist.
And to follow up on the promotion of the movie and the book.
Can you please stop calling it a promotion? What am I promoting?
Put it out on your platform.
But I'm promoting it? Do you see me me in front of
putting it out there, people are going to say that you are
promoting. Yeah, I put it out there just like you put things out there, right?
Yeah, but
okay.
It's not
you put
stuff,
things out there for a living, right?
Right, but my stuff
Great.
is not
So let's move on.
filled
let's
with
move on.
anti-Semitic
Let's
stuff.
move on. Don't dehumanize me up here.
I'm not doing that.
Another
You're
human
free
being.
to post
I can post whatever I want. So say that and shut it down and move on to the next question.
But Kyrie, you have to understand that by
I don't have to understand anything from you.
It's not me.
Nothing.
By
It's no people that
what
you're
you
making
did,
up, bro. Move on.
But by posting
move
what
on.
you
Next
did,
question.
Anybody
Do
is
you guys have
look
any more
at
questions
it,
for
and
me?
they're going to say,
You guys have any more
does he have
questions? Because this is going to be a clip.
beliefs?
This is going to be a clip that he's going to marvel at. Is this any more questions?
But you're not answering the question.
Oh, this is another answering your question. Oh my God, let's make another Instagram clip so we could be famous again. Next question.
Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to We Up Report. So you can stay up, because we going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down. All right, so that was the interview with Kyrie Irving. And I guess the reporter there. And so this was really kind of like the beginning of it, right? This is where it became publicized, right? And what we saw in this exchange there, for many people, they seen what they seen, but what did you really see in this? You know, Kyrie initially said that he was in a unique position to influence, he said, my community. Being a person of that caliber, with that platform that they like to use, and say that the status and stature that you have, that we promote you throughout the country, throughout, let's say, the planet. I'm not sure that the NBA is played all through the planet, but we use that as a metaphor. And so that you have this influence, and that's where the problem lies at. For young brothers who didn't understand it, the power is, the power is in the influence, which is the problem is you using your influence in a way that is not satisfying to the status quo. When you under contract with these people, you must know that they believe in their mindset. When you sign these contracts, they own you. All you gotta do is remember, when those who are avid watchers over here, and when I talk about going back to 1865, when they're talking about the emancipation, and when they're talking about how they reneged on giving the 40 acres and a mule that many people assume that it's about. But when they reneged on that, and then they made the contracts for us to work back with the people who we just been let go with, right? So that was the beginning of these contracts, and how that even after you had been so-called freed, the contract was supposed to give you some even ground, but it was still putting you back in the position under the premise of you supposed to have been paid. Now, in this day and age, a lot of people do not equate the fact of plantation and what they say people who work with contracts. Well, really what you need to look at is there is no difference between then and now. The difference is certain apples that is in front of the court or the course, right, that's pulling the cart, has to look shiny, has to be promoted, advertised, commercialized, and branded so that it gives you inspiration to follow the same suit, to be just like, to be like Mike. Where was he at in all this? But that's another topic for another situation. And so they who contract you have control of your image, likeness, and what you say and do. So here's Kyrie, who wanted to do his part as a black man and part of a Native American, right? I think, yeah, he's part of the tribes, right? The Sioux, I think. He said he uses influence for his community. And he said what he posts doesn't mean he believes everything that's said or campaigning for everything. Now, did he not say that in that conversation? He said it off the rip. But because it became an anti-Semitic trope that had been put out there, as you heard that reporter say book. See, they associated the book with the film. Many of them may have read the book or know the book, but let me tell you something that a lot of people have not mentioned about the book. They act like there's only one book to that. You know, there's a 4-volume book, and them books are thick than a mug. Them some thick books. And I don't believe that people who don't have any interest in that will sit there as they believe are going to be stabbed up because they believe everything in it. Because I even heard somebody say in the first 8 minutes it was just trashing and saying that the Holocaust didn't exist or didn't happen. And I'm like, well, I didn't see it, so I can't say that. But I do know what most of the people who did speak on, where they got their information from, and if you stay tuned, we will get into that. But isn't it funny though? But he made it clear that he does not believe everything. Now, there's many of us who watch videos and movies. Quentin Tarantino, often, right? We've seen a lot of these things that portray images and tropes that offend us all the time. We've been watching over all the years, many of us who are older than those who are now, a lot of stuff that we had to sit and watch that gave the stereotypical so-called black person, and we had to accept it. So if somebody makes something and you happen to watch it, Kyrie did make that statement at the time when he said that he did not make this video. But what they're using is the contract that controls your image, likeness, and again, the contract means I own you on the clock and you represent me off the clock. So what does that mean? Do I need to say that again? The contract means I own you when you on the clock, and when you off the clock, you still represent. Because think about it. When they go out, those who are entertainers, actors, and so forth, and get into bar fights, get into situations where the police have to be involved, and it makes, let's say, becomes common information through media, they associate the individual with the brand of the company. So in that sense, they own you. There's a book that said a $40 million slave. I don't think a lot of people understand that. Even the commoners, think about it. Everything that we do is based on contract. Some kind of obligation and agreement that you have to be aligned with in order to get some kind of benefit or be allowed to be a part of it. So in one sense, there's a naive part that was part of Kyrie not understanding that. And how could he if no one is sitting down and giving you the Willy Bobo from A to Z? They have to spin that Willy Bobo to you. And if nobody's sitting down and putting you to the stool and let you sit on the side and giving you that game, how are you going to know these things? So a lot of times young people out here by trial and error trying to figure their way through this because they may be the first ones to actually be pioneering their families to break the 6-figure, 7-figure numbers, dealing with corporations and contracts where their people who they come from don't know anything about that. They know about employment and applications and at will and stuff like that, right? So in that position, he made sure that he made it clear that he did not co-sign everything that was in it, but because the lack of him understanding about him being owned, and a lot of people not understanding about being owned out here. Nobody wants to say this. Nobody wants to tell the truth about this. And so when he starts saying for my people or my community, do you not know a lot of times when they see athletes and people of these so-called statuses and statures that no longer are from the hood, they can't associate, they cannot fathom in their mind why you still have some affinity when you've gotten out of that. Why are you looking back? Why are you putting your hand back? Why are you trying to help them to come from out of that situation? What is your kinship to them? It seems that for those who believe like that, think that once you get out of that situation, you're supposed to be like Lot's wife. Don't look back. Lot's wife. Remember the reason she looked back? She turned into a pillar of salt according to the Bible. Well, that's what they saying. Once you come from there, do not turn around. Do not look back. Do not try to help. You are special.
You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey. You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it. You know I need the money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it.
And we brought you from that. And we brought you from that. And so when you say that you're using your influence to, let's say, give some incentive or to allow the community to use you to aspire or to help them in some kind of way, you're under contract. And under those contracts, they believe that's a no-no. These are the things nobody's going to actually say openly. And then you heard when Kyrie said that if anybody who has criticism, it wasn't for you. Anybody who had criticism of what they saw in the documentary, but they threw in the book. See, you have to be meticulous about when you are listening and talking with these people, because what they do is they try to catch you on a word. Or if you let something slide in there, then that was what they're going to be able to say, because once you co-sign it, that's what they're going to hold you to. But when it comes to them, it's not the same, right? You can't hold them to the I, to the T, to the letter, because when they're dealing with you, it said there's nothing that the law that they are supposed to be bound by when it comes to you. And so when he said that it wasn't for you, well, that's right. Everything that people post, all the movies that's been put out here, there's news reports about how certain people are always portrayed as the criminals, as something that's always negative, there's always something wrong. But guess what? The way they tell us without saying it, okay, it is what it is. But other people are so sensitive that, again, what gives them the control? It's the contract. It is the contract that got them to be able to get you in this position. Without the contract, they would have no power over you. So he tells them, he said, here y'all is trying to damage my influence. Of course. You're not going with the status quo. You're actually trying to do something that you said to bring upliftment. And the dynamic of the structure of that which really created this never had that as part of the plan. Yes, it sells that as commercial, as advertisement, that everybody's entitled. But the truth of the matter is, once you live here long enough and been through this game long as many of us have, you come to realize that there is a his and hers, we and us. And so to damage his influence is to damage whatever you were trying to do. That, again, you think about it. When they say that the NBA, the MLB, the NFL, when they say they give back, do y'all notice that a lot of times when they do these camps and when they do these so-called give backs, and not so more lately, but when they start to do that and promote it and show that on TV, who do we see on there that they was all, again, what kind of kids did we see up in there? Now, you might see in them camps, you might see some sprinkles of those who look like us, but where do they live and what kind of families do they come from? It's ever rarely that you ever see them down in the cut. You rarely ever see them down in the cut. So it's kind of funny that they get a lot of those players from the cut, but when it comes to giving back, the places that produce them, they don't come back and give none of the proceeds and profits to those communities that actually produce such talent like that. They make it to be an individual thing. And so what happens is a lot of people, once they get in a position, you start feeling special. You feel like you came out of the muck and mire. And again, as the story of Lot's wife, you don't look back. And then when you start to look back, that becomes a no-no. You broke the protocols. So you heard when he made this say, well, this is adultery that he posted, right? It was like something that foul and dirty that he posted. But they did make it to be that way because they threw on the magic word of anti-Semitic. Once the anti-Semitic word was thrown on there, it became an adultery. See, once they threw that trope on there and said anti-Semitic, it made it adulterous. Because why? Because of their ownership. It's their ownership through those words on that contract that allows them to get into there to do the things that they do. And so they don't say it, they just say you're supposed to know this. And so what we end up seeing is a public spectacle of a public, basically, execution to berate and bring you back into the fold. Because again, as I've said earlier, it talks about how in the protocols or the policies when it comes to contracts, he should have been waived and officially dismissed so that he can go and move on to go forward. But no, those that have read the book Kirk Floyd, Underpaid Slave, where Kirk Floyd, for many of you today who get those big contracts, it was Kirk Floyd who sacrificed himself and went through the thorns and the stripes in order to allow today these big contracts that you negotiate and being able to make terms and go in free agency. You owe that to Kirk Flood. Kirk Flood opened that door for that. And so he understood when, at the time when he was playing, an owner owned you. It was pure plantation. I'm not saying it's not now, because again, what I say, Mr. Blow Your Mind will say, tell me when slavery ended. What month, what day, and what year. Tell me when it stopped. Put it in the comment. Show me when slavery stopped, and I'll tell you you're a lie. And anybody who would say that I'll show you and prove to you you're a lie. But this is the new form. Like they say, things end up, what's the term they use? Evolved. This is the evolution of the plantation, where it becomes like it doesn't look like of old. It's just the new version of it. And a lot of people have not access to see that. And so The thing is, when I said you have to watch the words, you have to watch, because watch how slick that reporter was. See, what he wanted to do is he wanted to get you to commit. What you talking about, Mr. Blowjamine? Did you not see when he asked Kyrie, when he said, why do you promote what Alex Jones said? Why do you promote what Alex Jones said? Why did he do that first? Because he was getting him to commit to the word that you kept hearing them use. What was the word? Promote. When he used Alex Jones, he was bringing a word in to make Kyrie commit to. And when he committed to that word, they got their, aha, we got him. That was the word they was looking for. And so this is what Kyrie said right after he asked him, did he promote Alex Jones? Remember when Kyrie said that was a few weeks ago? Right there, he committed to the word promote. Right? Let me say this again. When the reporter asked Kyrie about Alex Jones, he was careful and it was meticulous and it was planned when he asked Kyrie, why did you promote what Alex Jones did or said? And right away, Kyrie responded, but he didn't see the trick in the question. The trick in that question was promote. That was a few weeks ago. He said he didn't stand with the position, the narrative, the court case, or anything that had to do with harming or associated with the people that had to do anything with the tragic event. He downplayed that, but he committed to promote. Now, I want to bring you up to speed about what I did originally on the first one. So that was what I said originally, and we're going to move forward to where we are now. Now, I know some people done left up out of here, so you got to be a little patient, because a good meal, I'm from the old school. Old school, a good meal is one that go in, preparation, thawing out, seasoning, preparation, pots, pans, to get to that great meal. Not something I can throw in the microwave that's going to be ding ready. So for y'all those who are not like that, don't have the patience, this may not be the place for you. But if you want a well-cooked meal, this might be your home. So go ahead, subscribe, and hit that button. Now, so we got to look at the simple fact that I'm setting up the fact that, again, that a lot of the obligation that is happening, that we're going to see that those brothers that are coming to that we looked at as OGs and the position they're going to be in. But before we get there, we have to set up the fact that what took place, what transpired before it gets to them, because it's going to be them that's going to make them make the moves they're going to make. And I'm going to show you that. Now, as I'm talking about contracts, we're talking about personal rights. Well, these are the things that are related to personal rights when you're talking about human rights, real rights. So under this situation with the Kyrie Irving, were there any violations to his human rights or real rights as pertaining when we talk about contracts? Because you got entertainment law, and that's basically what this is when you're playing, let's say from movies, let's say actors, entertainers, athletes, even those are writers. They fall under the entertainment category when you're talking about contracts. And when you talk about those laws that govern the professions and businesses of the entertainment industry, you're talking about particularly the contracts and the intellectual property. Let me say this again. The areas of law governing professionals and businesses in entertainment in the industry are particularly with the contracts and intellectual property. More particularly, they talk about certain legal traditions and aspects of these areas of law that are unique to the entertainment industry. And so, again, the fields will be like, again, movies, theaters, film, fine art, dance, opera, music, literary, publishing, television, and radio. These are the people who are going to fall under the entertainment law. And so under these contracts that they have, the way that they're structured, the industry are always, they say, in a state of economic uncertainty. So the reason why they have the contracts is because it's an uncertainty to their business. Their business has a peak and a low, a high and a low, depending for the demand, right? So with entertainment companies, what they do, they merge, they reform, they go into they dissolve, right? So they always coming and going. They're never something steady. But then when you get something like the NBA, NLB, NFL, things like that, they have been established, right? And so you're focusing on consumers' tastes, the artists, which is those to be athletes, entertainers, actors, and so forth. They say that them as an individual, these positions can change quickly. And so, and then they can be devalued, as they may not be in demand as much, and then later on they can actually thrust and become something that it can be, explosive. And so because of the up and downness in it, there's a fluctuation. And so those who have these contracts are always writing these contracts so that they will recoup what they invest in you. Okay? Because they say it's instability in these markets that they say. They said they rely on these contracts, and they make them sometimes complex contracts because they say they're there to protect entertainment companies against economic risk. Now, understanding that does not give what we're about to see with these brothers who end up doing the things that they do. But some people had to, I believe, needed to explain this a little bit, because there's a lot of people who feel that people can make stances on just because it's the right thing to do. So I want you to see that there is something that makes them compromise, but that doesn't give them right, even though there's still a better way to do it than the way that had been done. And there's some of the brothers you're going to see that I'm going to show you, you can see they were fighting against what was against their own natural stance. Some of us have deemed others to be who they are, and others you've seen them kind of, let's say, reverse pivot from the position that they originally took. They also talk about how personal service agreements, when you're talking about in contracts, and these are primary legal instruments in the entertainment industry. This is where they negotiate between the artists, in this case would be the athletes, entertainers, the actors, and so forth, and that the company that they are being contracted with, these will be the ones that's going to manufacture your talent. They're going to promote your talent. They're going to distribute these artists, which is their goods and services, would be as an entertainer, would be the dance, singing, actors, what they portray, athletes, what they play, correct? So in these agreements, they are buying these artists to produce for the company for a certain period of time. And under these personal service agreements, they're often governed, they say, by statutes and often subject to litigation. Now, remember that. Subject to litigations means that if they break those contracts, they go through litigation. So again, the teaching must be the fact that it doesn't give them a pass, but we must also understand that some of them cannot, because there's a legal obligations that they cannot, and if they go against, they're going to be hurt. But that doesn't mean you can't hide behind the fact that you could have stood up. So I wanted to bring a little bit of that information, because a lot of that is not being told. And we know there's a lot of people who understand this, but they're in the industry, so they're not going to say this, right? They're not going to tell you that part. And so the artists, being again entertainer, actors, and so forth, they don't have the resources necessary to manufacture, market, and distribute their own goods and services. Yes, we're in a day and time where people say with social media that you can cut the middleman out. But look at me, Mr. Blows Your Mind, We Up Report. You would think that I'm a brand new. You think I'm brand new to this game. Go look and see how long I've been around. I've been around going on 11 years. You ain't never heard of me, because why? Whatever I'm talking about over here, whatever I've been showing for over the years, somebody decided early in the game, when I hit my first viral video back in 2014, Extinction of the White Race, somebody said, not him. And they cut me out. So this is why a lot of times when people be saying, man, all we got to do is get our money together, we can make our own. Well, the problem is when you have to be the one that's going to have the resources with the manufacture, to market, to distribute your goods and services, a lot of people believe that the United States is a free market. You believe that they believe in competition. Why you think there's only the NBA? Why you think there's only the NFL? Why you think there's only the MLB? They don't believe in competition. Matter of fact, I think I was watching on, for those who might know about, what's the show with Mike Tyson, Hot Boxing with Mike Tyson. I just seen the interview with Ice Cube. And Ice Cube was talking about how the Big Three is getting on CBS, and then they were trying to get those to, let's say, invest into his business, like the NBA and them are looking at them as competition, but really it's like reheating an old meal from last night. What do I mean? What do you mean by that, Mr. Blow Your Mind? What I mean is, think about the Big Three. The Big Three has taken those who used to be in the NBA. It's not that they couldn't play anymore. You know, the young man's game, when you cannot run and jump and stay up, it's not that you can't still play. It's just that it exerts a little bit more energy when you done had some injuries, you done got a little bit older, the game is faster. So it's not that they can't hoop. It's just that you got it kind of, you know, they not on the top echelons of players. So he's taking a repackaged player that used to be in the NBA and created a league. And so why would the NBA would help them? Because we already done had contracts with them. We done already done market them. How are we going to repackage that once again when we feel like the standard we in? So I understand Q's position, but I also understand that the NBA would do that because they don't believe. Think about it. Anytime that black people, we, FBA, ADOS, Entitlements, Indigenous, what I say umbrellaism, Black Americans, anytime when you look at our history that we try to compete, what end up happening? So if you believe that somebody's going to sit here and allow us to build to be in competition with them, you got another thing coming. I'm not being pessimistic and saying that we cannot. I'm telling you what the game is. Everybody in here talking, but they ain't telling what the game is. So I'm just telling you that's the way this is structured. So now when you play in a monopoly environment, in monopoly industry, then you understand that these contracts are going to hold and bind you and make you, I guess, obligated, whether you don't want to be obligated, unless you're willing to forfeit all that they done gave, and then they're going to take back for the damages that you done created. So that right there will compromise many and most of us, but those of us who don't understand that, we speak from naive or ignorance. So I'm sitting here to tell it, but I'm not here to try to make those OGs to give them a pass. It don't make them get a pass, because some of that stuff, what we about to see, you're going to see there was some compromising in their spirit. There's some things that even though you know it's wrong, and if who you is, you're going to make that stance when you're supposed to. So what am I talking about? So as again, we're talking again about personal rights, dealing with contract. So that, let's see. I seen this article came out and it said that they had violated something to do with Kyrie. So let me see this right quick, and then we're going to get into the OGs and when they despise your truth. Now, let me show you this article before we move on. So as you see on your screen there, Brooklyn Nets charge claim teams violate federal labor law with Irving suspension. Let me say that one more again. Brooklyn Nets charge claim teams violate federal labor laws with Irving suspension. Now, according to this was an article that was done, looked like it says his name is Abraham Jewett. It was done November 17th of 2022. And then this article claims that the film and the book, right? The film and the book. I thought it was all about the documentary, which you can, I guess, correlate to being the film, but they also threw in the book. Now, those who've been around know that a lot of time movies come from books. But do we not also know that not every movie that is made from a book is exactly as the book may, let's say, that might be written in the book, may not be the same interpretation that comes on film. So the question becomes, what were we talking about here? Were we talking about the film, or were they talking about the book? It seems to me that people were talking more about the book, and then initially, as time went on, well, initially they were talking about the documentary, but it had the, let's say, the connotative language as we're also including the book. So we were 2 for 1 when really nobody has seen the documentary. But the documentary had been out for over 4 years. And so they threw in the book to validate some of the points that I believe that were made. But as we go on, we're going to find out, was it more about the film or the book? But most likely it had a connotative language. It was about both. It goes on to talk about the fact that this book or this film that was promoted had anti-Semitic tropes. Now, a lot of people may be trying to figure out what is an anti-Semitic trope. Best estimation that anybody probably can give is the fact that what we define. Now, the group get to say what we define, we consider to be anti-Semitic tropes. Could also mean need not define. We need not define what it is, but we label that. So whatever we label, we put that stamp of approval and put it on you, need not define. Or another way maybe you could say is whatever I said it is. You know that when we was growing up, whatever I said it is. Well, whatever I say it is can also be an anti-Semitic trope as to what to maybe define what it is, because many people have been baffled as what is an anti-Semitic trope, so that one knows not to tread on that. But if you don't define it and just leave it to self-interpretation or mysterious language, I think many people are going to cross that line no matter how much you may promote to make people to be chastised for things that they have said. They also talk about in this article that it said these Semitic tropes, according with the book and the film, is what led to the Nets suspending Kyrie Irving. Is that true? Did the Nets suspend him primarily because of the film, or were there adages to it? So a lot of people have seen what they saw, but really, what did you see? You stay tuned in here. We're going to get into all of that. And then they also added the fact that it was a completion to-do list, but how many times did he needed to do this based on the simple fact that what had happened prior, which I'll go into. But then remember, there was a completion of a to-do list of 6 steps. He had a 6-step program, almost like an AA meeting, where they have certain steps that one must do to graduate. I'm assuming, I've heard, don't know personally. And then the fact that after he apologized, they said after he apologized. Completion of the to-do list was after he apologized. But the question becomes, how many times did Kyrie Irving apologize? How many times did Kyrie Irving apologize? Matter of fact, I'm gonna do it like this. Every time they say the word where you have to apologize, we're just gonna let our sister do it. Hit it. So, yeah, basically that's what they wanted, right? Why don't you sing for me? So, that's what it did. The problem was, how many times did he have to apologize? Because it appears that they try to make it look like it was only one apology. We're going to see how many times. All right. All right. So I wanted to set that up because, again, he was violated. And how did they violate him? They did. Matter of fact, y'all remember when Stephen A. Smith had said something. Now, again, we're going to go through the Patreon again. Let's make sure for those who's slow in here who didn't get it, catch it out, right? Today's show is going to be when your OGs despise your truth, okay? So when your OGs despise your truth, so we're going to see what happened, because, again, I just set up the fact that contract, you know that contract exists, so you understand there's a little apprehension on them, but did they really care? And then we're talking about in a day where we're saying that there's a unification happened, and then we had to see where people real heart lies at, because you can tell when somebody, do you notice that nobody mentioned anything about Kenny Smith, right? Kenny Smith knew how to do a meeting of the mind. He knew how to take the position that, well, he said this, and I'm going to go with he said with this, right? You seen Keyshawn, I think it's Keyshawn Johnson. He said something. Jay Williams, he flip-flopped a little bit. Then he took the stance because, again, social media, which means that we in the black corner, that this voice that we have and that we keep promoting, as some will say, we the black corner, the black media, and that when we say these things and we make them being heard, but back in the day used to be a time when it was only 2579, used to be the TV and the news. And so if the news didn't make this response, then they could get away with it. They didn't hear the society. But today you get to hear the murmurs of society when it says the thing, so you can try to pretend like you don't hear. And I want you to hear what Shaq said when we get to that. But the point is, there was some things they violated when they deal with Kyrie. Matter of fact, to substantiate that, you remember when Stephen A. Smith said this:
America, don't think I have not noticed what you have done. Kyrie Irving, minimum 5 games. Ime Udoka, minimum 1 year suspension. Usually when there's a suspension, there's an end date. I'm seeing 2 black men here that's got the word indefinite attached to their exiles. I don't like that. That is inconsistent with what we have customarily seen transpire in the world of sports. So when 2 brothers mess up, it's got indefinite attached to it. But if it's anybody else, you get a definitive point which is suspended, and or you're fired and you're free to go work elsewhere, whatever the case may be. But in these cases, you got indefinite attached to them where their futures are left dangling. What are y'all trying to say?
He compromised. Matter of fact, we're gonna define it at the end. We're gonna summon it at the end. After some of the things that you heard some of these brothers say, it looked like he was taking the position. You know, he really was trying to take that position more on Udoka than he was about Kyrie, because we all seen prior to that when he was talking about when it came to the vaccination and so forth, when the stance he took, and then when you're talking about the contract, and right? So we know, but we understood because, again, we were murmuring. We were saying things that they was hearing, so they had to try to take that position. But you ain't going to be steadfast on that edge. You're not going to be steadfast on that. So, but yet, that's what he was talking about. He was talking about the fact that there was some violations of dealing with the contract, because remember, Kyrie, there was some murmuring saying that Kyrie was going to go to the Lakers. Y'all remember that? When Kyrie was about to go to LA, the reason why that is because according to the protocols of that contract, once they had deemed him and put him in that they were going to really terminate that contract, he was supposed to become a free agent right away. And so LeBron, being the player, I guess you say GM player, he told the Lakers organization, well, we can pick up Kyrie, right? So they had stopped that, and then you heard Stephen A. Smith say, well, they put him in this limbo state, and they used that as an employer to put you in that position so that they didn't lose you, but they were going to sit there and then they go give all these other adages. But I want y'all to see some of the things that when they put that adage to him, we got to ask ourselves, he had already apologized. So what was this added stuff? And then we're going to move on to some of the things that done happened recently and say, okay, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So we're going to go back to the first one up the bat with Shaq. Remember what Shaq said?
That exchange with Nick Friedel the other night after the game. And look, if he keeps making a big thing out of the word promotion, that is promotion. If on your social media you say, boom, here's a link to this, that tells me, hey, you should watch this. Correct? He's got 17 million Instagram followers, another 5 million or so on Twitter. You're all over social media. Do you ever put something out there, Shaq, that does not represent something that you feel?
I was probably one of the first guys on Twitter. And when I realized the power it had, I knew I had to be very responsible. Followers, platform, whatever you call it, I knew I had to be responsible. I try to make people happy. I try to make people smile. My formula has always been the same: 60% to make you laugh, 30% to inspire you, and 10% whatever I'm selling. You have to be aware of what you're doing. And you have to be aware that sometimes when you put stuff out, not everybody's gonna like it. Some people are conscious, some people are not. I can tell he's not conscious. He doesn't really care what's going on. But us, I know that the game that we used to love and we promote, it brings people together. And it hurts me sometimes when we have to sit up here to talk about stuff that divides the game. Now we got to answer for what this idiot has done. I stand for equality of all people. I've always been like that. Don't matter what religion, don't matter where you're from. I could say shalom, salam alaikum, ni hao, say bon, because that's how I was raised. So I don't really want to sit up here and answer questions for what he's done. If you're looking at me, it's my job to make people happy. I can't speak for him and, answer for what he's doing. It's obviously by his answers and the way he answers, he doesn't really care.
All right, so Shaq D. We're back, right? All right, so Shaq Diesel. So Shaq Diesel said what he said, right? Shaq sat there and Ernie gave him the floor, started him off, and we heard what he said, right? I believe Shaq lost a lot of, social points based on the position he took. Now, again, Kenny spoke that night. Everybody expected what Charles Barkley was going to say. But Shaq has been teetering on that line, and it just all came to fruition when this situation came, threw my man up under the bus. And again, if you was here earlier, as I espoused about how contracts work, he was not willing to compromise none of that, because again, a lot of y'all don't know that, okay, let me put it this way. You know that Bill Cosby was a huckster, right? A huckster. What's a huckster, Mr. Blows Your Mind? Well, a huckster is one like a salesman. One sells products, a pitchman, a spokesman. So we see that Shaq has taken on the persona or taken a page out of Bill Cosby's book, and he's become that. Why you think you see Shaq in all those commercials? General and Papa John's, and right, you see him in all those commercials, but have you ever asked yourself, why are you in so many commercials like that? That's because he's a huckster, right? So he has too much, he's involved in too many different companies, right? So he can't afford, so he has to be right off the bat, let he know, as a company man, right? As a company man, I like making everybody happy. You understand? Show your teeth and hands. You hands and teeth, right? I got to do that because why? Under that contract, I'm obligated. I ain't gonna be, you ain't gonna have me out there with a cup, you know what I'm saying? Talking about spare change. I ain't gonna do that. Not for y'all. You understand? If he did that, like he said, look, I go on social media. I understand that the power that I got. I'm not gonna put myself out there and put that up there. But see, the thing was, let me show you something. See, he said all that. Now remember, that was in the moment. When that happened, it was live. And you see that he put his hand to him and says, hey, you know what? This is what it is. And so he says, no, I wouldn't have did that. I understand the responsibility of the power and social media, and I wouldn't do that. But what that boomerang he threw out into that ether came back insufficient fun, because we end up finding out later on that what happened. Oh, you got a theater. Oh, you played it. Oh, that's what it was. Oh, okay, we got you. Let's see, my man who out there, Mr. Hooper, says even in court law, hearsay has no standing. So it don't matter what you think he meant when he posted it if he didn't say it out of his own mouth. But that's okay, Hooper. That's what I'm saying. My thing is, you're gonna hear them say what Kyrie said. And I was befuddled, like I'm pretty sure many of you was befuddled, like, what the hell they talking about what he said? I ain't heard him say nothing. All I heard was the fact he posted. But somehow they kept transforming the conversation or playing mind fuckery with everybody, right? Changing your mind, making you think it's something else. And then what ended up happening was what? He said something, but yet he had already apologized. But I'm going to show you what exactly what it was that he said is really what put the adage and then put the list on, right? So we heard what Shaq said. And right there when Shaq put in the idiot, he sent out that boomerang. And that boomerang went out into the ethers. And you know how would a boomerang do? It come back. And it came back on him. And I'm going to tell you right off the bat, where I ain't heard nobody in none of these corners say, do y'all know why Kyrie Irving's still playing right now? It's because of Shaq. Let me say that one more again for y'all slow in the back. The reason why Kyrie Irving is still playing is because when Shaq said idiot, threw that out into the ethers, the ancestors caught it, sent it back, insufficient fund. You try to throw that young man and come to find out, we're going to find out something about you. But we're going to get to that part. And so it's because of him that Kyrie Irving, they could not execute what they planned to do because they already had it done. Anybody disagree with that? Was Kyrie Irving not already executed? And think about it. You know how, wait a minute, those of us who are FBA, ADOS, Black American, touches and digits is more. The umbrellas, I say Black Americans. Think about something here. Who the only people who could stand up to the unspeakabouts and deflect that one? It's like playing spades. You know, when you're playing spades, and then there's the big joker and there's the little joker. Now, somebody got the big joker, but you got the little joker. But you don't play that first because you know the big joker out there. So it's kind of like somebody playing spades trying to fake like they got the big joker. And they try to throw them on us. And we sitting back like, wait a minute, we understand what's going on with y'all, but you don't get the trump over in my lane of the history that goes along with me and my people, but you trying to trump me and trying to fake to me and bluff me like you got the big joker when we know you bluffing. And guess what happened? That's what it looked like, y'all. We called that bluff. And so they had to eat that. So let me tell you something else when we get to that too. Y'all think that picture of that Jerry Jones came out by accident? Or was that to get some shit off somebody else's ass? Hold on, what you talking about here, Mr. Hooper? What you saying here? He said, little own be, it said, we say little own be suspended, and when can you not have your own opinion and have agreed with the owners of your business on everything or be able be fired? Let's see what you say. It said little own, okay, little own be okay, little own be suspended, okay. Okay, I get what you're saying. All right, so yeah, the problem is when you work, right? When you're on the job and you work, they ain't paying you for your opinion unless you work in the kind of field that that's what part of your, let's say, protocols or duties to do. Other than that, keep your personal shit to yourself. We hire you for what we hire you for. Matter of fact, in some states in this country, it's called at will. At will means we can fire you and don't have to have a reason. Did y'all know that? That a lot of y'all could be terminated, or you done seen people be terminated. Sometimes they make shit up. But there's a lot of people who get terminated. It's called at will. I mean, I don't got to have a reason. I don't want you here no more. So I hear what you're saying. In a perfect world, that might be, but in the way where we at and how we dealing with it, that may not be. So what else did you say here, brother? I agree with you, homie. Kyrie should be able to watch any video he wants. Exactly. He should be. But what's obligated, Mr. Hooper, is the fact that contract, those contracts is what's structured that when you violate that, then you break the contract, and then they can have you in litigations and make you recoup whatever loss they're getting from you. So that's why you see a lot of them. Did you not notice that all the entertainment, from baseball, football, entertainers, actors, it was mum's the word, hip hop, mum's the word. Nobody spoke. Why? Because boss said, shut your mouth. People probably wanted to speak, but they said, if you speak, you be done. So them contracts, you know what I'm saying, keep a motherfucker in check. And that's what happened. And said to next play right. Okay. So we're gonna get into that. You just stay tuned, Mr. Hooper. And we're gonna touch I'm touching all that because I've seen this and I've seen a lot of people just kind of blow past this and let it go. There was too much in here for us not to be having the discussion and some lessons that needed to be taught, because there's young people who coming up who seen this and didn't really understand it. It's kind of like watching Dak Prescott. They put the mic in front of his face. What do I expect I'm an elder in this group. And I don't expect the young buck to be able to know the stuff that I done been around to see and being here to explain through my experience in life, that he is a young man, putting him in a situation that a lot of stuff happened that he just now learning. Y'all brand new blacks. You know what I'm saying? You just got black today. I've been black before you was black. So I can tell you things that you didn't see and know, and some of the stuff you can't read in the book. So you need brothers like me. That's why I'm the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I've been around going on 11 years and you ain't never heard of me. Why? They got me tucked up under the internet. I guarantee you can put my name in the search engine right now, and it's going to show a white woman named Maddie Crumb. Who the hell is Maddie Crumb? Right? So that tells you what is he saying over here that they don't want to be heard. So anyway, but that's what it is. So we're going to move on. Let me show you something. So we see that. And then up next became who? Charles Barkley. We wasn't ashamed. We wasn't surprised about Charles. Charles is what it is, right? But I believe this conversation right here was the lit that started the wick. You know, when you like that firecracker? I think that's what it was. Right here. Check this out.
Chuck.
I think the NBA dropped the ball.
In what way?
I think he should have been suspended. I think Adam should have suspended him. First of all, Adam's Jewish. You can't take my $40 million and insult my religion. If you're going to insult me, you have the right, but I have the right to say, no, you're not going to take my $40 million and insult my religion. I think the NBA, they made a mistake. We have suspended people and fined people who have made homophobic slurs, and that was the right thing to do. I think if you insult the black community, you should be suspended or fined heavily, depending. I saw they did the same thing to the kid in Minnesota this year when he made the gay slur. I think you should get suspended or fined. I think him acknowledging the Alex Jones thing should have happened with that too, because that dude's crazy. And I can't believe that we ain't talking about that. We're talking about this idiot. And when you say, if I say, hey, I'm agreeing with this movie, this book, or whatever, I'm agreeing with it. I'm not going to first of all, you know I don't do any social media, but when you're somebody as great as basketball like him, people going to listen to you what you say. Then And there's some fringe people out there. But like I say, I blame the NBA. He should have been suspended.
And their conversations are continuing with the Brooklyn Nets,
It's too
with
late
the NBA,
now.
but they're also looking at, they're looking at how do we move forward at this so we don't
too
go
late
through
now.
this again. No, it's not too late to say,
Ernie,
how do we prevent
Ernie,
this? It's not too late to do that. But I see, I see what you're
hold
saying.
on, I want to say that the reason it's too late, the NBA is giving in to peer pressure. If one of our players do something, they have the right, the team or the league has to do something immediately. If you just give in to peer pressure, that's the problem I have. This should have been handled already.
Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to We Up Report. So you can stay up because we going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down.
You know I need some money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it. You know I need the money, gotta get the money, cause I need some cash. Hey, come on, gotta get it.
So we back, right? So we back, and those niggas telling broadcast, right? Those niggas telling TNT, right? Those niggas telling, those niggas over there telling, and so we see Charles Barkley, and again, many people were not surprised about what Charles Barkley was going to say. He's going to stick to that script. Charles know that after basketball, what else he was going to do? He wasn't going to be no coach. He wasn't going to be in the NBA like that. So they gave him a commentator because, again, a lot of people like his candidness of sometimes the things that he say that is dumbfounded. But, again, everybody got their place. So here he was as a company man saying that he believed that he should be suspended. Now, wait a minute. You think about that. You go to work and talk about somebody, you see them, they be coming late, right? You be there, you be on time, you come 15, 20 minutes every day. This person come every day, they late. And then you gonna go to the office. You know what? Blase Skippy be late every day. When you gonna do something about it? That's what that's like, right? That's like you going into the office telling somebody, hey, he late all the time. She late all the time. That's a trick, right? You tricking on my like that. Keep your business to yourself, right? So here he is, not seeing the camaraderie as an OG, despise your truth. Instead of saying, you know what? I know I got to speak on this because I'm obligated, but I have to do this in such a way because, you know, that's a young brother and I don't want that brother to lose his job. But I want to make it in the way that I'm for the company, but I'm also defending, right? Same way. Again, back in old school days, we used to throw rocks. I know today you can't find a rock or a brick to bust somebody damn head, but back in the day, we had the rocks and bricks and shit. So we used to be in the old parking lot throwing it. Nobody got their eyes put out, luckily, but you know, a couple times somebody got their head bust, and sometimes we bust a window. So what end up happening is somebody come down and they gonna walk you to your house, and then they gonna be in Japan. You know they hot under the collar because you done broke their window. Now your parents come to the door with the mother, father, both of them, whatever it might be. And then they express what then took place. And so now between the parents and the person who window you done broke, they hot under the collar. They want to really get in your ass. But your parents say, look, I'm going to handle this. We're going to deal with him. Now, how do we make this better? Right? They're going to be the mediators because that person and their rights could have gone ahead and hauled off smacky, but then they're going to have to deal with pops and mom afterward. So they did it the way, old school way. We take you before your parents and we're going to make this work it out. So we would think that that's what Charles and Shaq and Kenny would be in the situation, or the league that is predominantly with black people in it, you would think that that would be the position they would take, right? You would think that. But we understand that you're under obligation. We understand they pay you money. We understand that sometimes that those that you work for, it's like, again, at your job, you got a suggestion box. Some of you motherfuckers be putting that suggestion box, and when they fire your ass and you gave them a damn $1 million idea, they don't put none of that into consideration. They still get rid of your ass, don't you? Okay, so you get that free suggestion. Hey, master, we sick. You know what I'm saying? You go in there, you do that, and then they don't have no consideration when they get ready to let go of you. Oh yeah, it was a good idea. We making money off of it, but we got this time for you to go. But that's what Charles is doing. He making sure he in good. Y'all remember when Stephen A. Smith said that he wake up every day how he can make his master more money. Remember that? Okay, but anyway. So with that being said, so we would believe that Charles would be in a position, being the elder of the three up there. Charles going to be 60 years old, right? So you would think that he would take the position, but that ain't what he did. He doubled down on it. I think he was the one that lit the wick when he said, I think it's too late. I think y'all missed the ball. I think y'all dropped the ball. Huh? That's like the back in the day when you was in grade school. Baddest one hit my hand. I don't know if y'all do that today. Today, y'all just stealing on motherfuckers and whooping nigga. Hey, ain't got no talk, ain't too much talking. But back in the day, two people, get off me, man, get off me, shoulder to shoulder shit. And then somebody antagonizing in the middle, and they come in, baddest one hit my hand, right? He antagonized. So that's what Charles' position was. He was antagonizing the situation. He was sitting there antagonizing, trying to get this. And so Ernie was like, no, it's not too late. So I was like, wait a minute, is Ernie kind of showing something? But did Ernie show a little racism on that? Or that was just me? Maybe I was just looking at it that way. But I thought he was no, it's not too late, Charles. No, let me hold on, Ernie, let me tell you. Right? So he going to this little soliloquy of, there was the guy that was in Minnesota that was talking about the LGBT. He loved talking about the LGBTQ. Now again, I ain't got nothing to do with it. Yo, black LGBT, we family, right? Ain't got nothing to do about your sexual preference. We black. When you get done with all that, you're gonna find out that you was just black anyway. You even got in that group that you in, they still discriminating against you, even when you want to say, and we're gonna talk about what Charles gonna say after that, but I'll talk about that later. But anyway, but the fact is, everybody, he started talking. When he went to that black, and then they should be suspended for black, but he didn't go into it. He just said it, and then he just kind of, ran through the stoplight. Like, damn, wait a minute, you ain't even stop. 3 seconds, then go. They do with blacks, so then he went on to LGBT and everything else. And then he threw in Alex Jones. Oh, he's crazy. Now, let me tell y'all something. Alex Jones, okay, depending on how you look at things, some people into that, what they say conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory to me means things that people just won't admit that's real. Don't mean every conspiracy theory don't have no truth to it. Is that what y'all trying to tell me? That no conspiracy theory got no truth to it, right? It's all a lie. Everyone is all a lie. Get the fuck out of here with this shit. But anyway, so he said he's crazy. Now, the track record, when you look at it, matter of fact, shit, he done got into social media again with that shit with Ye, right? So he ain't too crazy because he's still back out there, right? He was out there, he was able to let him get in. So he said he's crazy. Here's Charles. He's crazy, right? Egging it on, putting more wood on the fire, right? And said that guy's crazy. Now, what is he insinuating? Now, again, he been in that business as long as he been in. And the only thing they ever gotten him with is the Sandy Hook. Now, again, I ain't here to say whether that is or not. That was between him, the court, and how they end up doing that and saying whether it was right or wrong. But all them years he been saying what he been saying, they couldn't get him on that, but they got him on that. So that's 99 to 1, right? 99 out of 100, he been all right up until that one. So he's crazy. So he took it to that one to get crazy. So to me, it's like you insinuating that to try to make that Kyrie in that same category. See, you're trying to put him up over there. Now, again, did he get his script before all that? Did they say, Charles, we need you to do a little something for us? You know what I'm saying? It's time for us to get rid of this boy. You understand? So I got some Hopping Bob from Life. Remember Hopping Bob? I ain't nice like Captain Boss over there, right? I ain't nice like Captain Boss. So anyway, so here he is. He antagonizing it to the fact that It was him, I believe, that made them say they jumped out the window. They came with so much veracity. They came with, it's just like, it didn't make sense. Wait a minute, the man didn't apologize, then he coming back, then he got to do, hey, where all this coming from? Because they sat back and they watched the show and they said, well, Shaq, you a Hall of Famer. Charles, you a Hall of Famer. Kenny, you won championships, right? You know what I'm saying? Y'all elders in the group, y'all black men, you're black Americans, right? What y'all suggest? And so what you suggest is telling them what they can do. Because you didn't see nobody really, other than I'm gonna show you that that Kellerman, it was the only white cat that I seen said something that was kind of like in opposition, but he being of that persuasion, so he had a right to make that stance. But everything else, it seemed like it looked like all of us. It was only our looking people, right? And so they said, okay, this is what you want. We're going to grant that wish, right? Because why? They were compromised. And plus, it's politically correct not to say something in opposition into that group anyway, right? The non-speak-abouts, right? The non-speak-abouts, you can't speak about them, right? So anyway, so I believe that Charles, what he did, lit that wick and made them jump out the window and push all that what they did the way they did it. I believe that's what he did. That's what I believe. So he goes on. Matter of fact, hold on, I got a couple comments. Let's see what I got. Hooper coming back again. What he say? He says, but just proves what we'll really have no freedom when it comes deep down to it if it affects the bottom dollar or the top percent. I'm gonna ask you a question, brother. Tell me the day, the month, and the year that slavery stopped in the United States. I know everybody want to talk about emancipation. What is emancipation? Just an announcement. Anything that becomes law got to go through the process through Congress, correct? Where's that law? Don't tell me no 13, 14, 15 Amendment. When you go study that meticulously, you're going to find out, when you really study it, all fluff. You are a state citizen. The federal don't fuck with us. Do you understand that? The federal don't fuck with us. We only citizen through state. State allow us to be citizens. Federal, nothing. But it's funny that when you got a discrimination case, you got to go to federal court. Do your research. And then one day you're going to be like, man, that nigga was telling about Mr. Bugs Brown. Tell that shit like a TI is. So when the deep down come to it, yeah, it is about the dollar. It is. You keep hearing a lot of times, you know, our people keep talking about the bag. Yeah, the bag is fine. But there's some things that even other groups understand that money can't buy. Money can't buy integrity. Either you got it or you don't. There's some things that even, matter of fact, I'm probably going to do tomorrow is the Deion Sanders. That's why so many people pissed off about Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, again, going to HBCUs, really, they ain't our shit. It ain't our shit. It just got black in there, but it ain't our shit. It's still them folks. It's them peoples, right? But the whole thing was to try to take and galvanize our talent, put it in one place, build it up so that now they got to come shop with us. If you want to get some good entertainment, you want to watch some good hoopers, you want to put them commercials in, over here. But soon as we win, soon as they say, I got $5 million for you. Oh, really? Feet don't hold me back. I'm gone, right? So that's why people are upset. Some people say, hey, I seen Shannon Sharp talking about something. People ain't even have it. You want to get the opportunity. Integrity sometimes is better than money. Some people I heard somebody talk about the money game. Yeah, the money game. But then sometimes money can't buy integrity. You could be a piece of shit ass motherfucker and you'll do anything for money. But a nigga with integrity can be broke as hell and still be worthy than a nigga that got money. Do I need to say that again? Oh, okay. A lot of people gonna leave on that one. I know. All right. And he says, never how you free when you don't own your own name and can have free thoughts. And how are you free? You don't own your own name. Well, your name was given to you. So in the sense of the freedom of the mind, but the mind was even encapsulated, or let's say captured, when you've been a prisoner of war here. They done already captured many of our minds. So that means that mama and daddy and them And then when we started to be creative and make up these names that people make fun of, oh shit, Quika and Pookie and Ray Ray, right? Those are not English names, right? Those names are not, these are not upstanding names that we prefer to have. So we have down those names, right? So when you got those kind of names, right? When you be creative, then they still got a problem with it. So yeah, to the sense you right, we make up our own, but then we stay within, you know, like on the road, you have the lines. We stay within the confines of trying to make it acceptable to society. We don't want to make it too, let's say, too obvious that you choose who you are, because they disqualify you when they look at the application. You already gonna throw your shit in the trash, right? We understand that, right? Hooper says something again. You don't own crap either. First, them need to widen the highways. Need some of your land. You refuse 4 or 5 offers, then they'll take it. So how is it yours? I agree with you, brother. I'm not disagreeing with you. I said we don't own nothing. You can't own nothing. You own the house, but you don't own the land. You pay taxes. So wait a minute, think about it. You take 20, 30 years to buy your home, right? And then you still don't own, you still paying. Isn't the point of owning something so that you don't have to pay no more? But nuh-uh, you paying all the time, every time. Ain't no such thing as not paying. You don't own nothing straight out. You own your car, but you got to pay for that license plate, city sticker. You get what I'm saying? Insurance. You keep a nigga. What did Pretty Tony say in the Mac? He said, "Ooh, when I got a bitch, I got a bitch. I keep a bitch, bro. Who's that pretty looking good and all that, but no dough. They always in your pocket. You understand? They always gonna be in your pocket, right?" Last one by Hooper says, "No money from fame don't mean nothing to me. Loyalty, worth." All right, okay. And one more, "They can take your money, fame, but you're loyal and real, they can't take that. They can try to destroy, but people who know you will let you be known they full of it." Okay, that's what it is, bro. You right. That's what it is. But the problem is, these conversations of what you're saying and what we're talking about, it's not something really common anymore, because it seems to be racist if you say what is obvious. Matter of fact, that's really what the whole thing about this truth, about this freedom of speech, because what's happening is truth is becoming to be in the same category as hate. Ain't that something? They're going to take truth speaking and make it hate speech. So that way, that now that many people are waking up and coming to the realization, as they say, we up report, as you come up on game and what it is all about, now somebody don't want what you're going to learn and what you're going to know about, they're going to feel some kind of way about it. So we're going to now demonize it. Remember, they just came up with, now look what they did in Florida with this sentence. Stop woke act. God damn, they said it in your face. Stop woke. Huh? They said they're going to stop you from waking up. A law. Now that tells you that somebody don't want the truth out here. So that's what this is going to boil down to. No more truth. So shows like this that y'all don't help to support, that's why I'm buried and hidden. I throw the Cash App up there. You want to throw something to help me out? Because again, I'm damn near out of this. I mean, can you believe I'm going on 11 years. I can't get over 100 views, can't get 200. You can't, what? But earlier days, I was getting 250,000. You understand? But they cut all that out. And I can't get on 100, 150, 200 views. And it dies out right after that. So if you like what you hear over here, you like this and what we do, and to keep me coming, do what y'all got to do. Share this, comment, support any way you can. Now, let me get back to this. Now we go back to Charles Barkley for the simple fact that Charles Barkley then goes on to over there with Don Lemon, and checked out what he says there.
How do you think the league should deal with it? Because, listen, he's still on suspension, but how do you think the league should deal with it? The reason I ask is because, everyone is speaking out about it. Kyrie Irving is facing, what he's facing. But the league let him go for a long time. They sort of are forcing him to apologize, but what if these are his real beliefs? Should they be dealing with that as well? Maybe they have someone who actually believes these things. I'm not saying it's right. Instead of forcing him to apologize, maybe they should be dealing with that part of it.
I said that's a great question, Don. people have the right to feel and say what they want to. We have freedom of speech, but there are repercussions when you say certain things. Listen, I don't know Kyrie Irving. I don't know if he's a good guy or a bad guy. I think he's been suspended, rightfully so, and I think he should come back and play in the NBA. But, you know, that's a really slippery slope because, you know, people always talk about freedom of speech, freedom of effect, or you say whatever you want to, but there are repercussions. I mean, and he's paying for that right now, but this thing with free speech has really gotten out of hand, Don. I mean, you just can't go around insulting people and think it's okay just because it's freedom of speech.
So now, again, we have two brothers again. Both of these brothers. Now, again, some people might, again, his sexual preference, I ain't got nothing to do with it. That's his business. What he do in his bed, that's his business. But you got two Black Americans sitting in front talking about another Black American, right? I know he was born over in Australia, but I think his lineage and stuff is from here, like the rest of us that got historical going back. And asking him what they should do. See, again, they're posing it and allowing you to sit in those seats to pose to everybody else that they want to reprimand, that if you co-sign it, then it must be okay. See, you can't say we did this. You told us it was okay to do, especially these men here, both 150, well, both of them in their 50s. I think Don Lemon is in his 50s. So you got two 50-year-old men and the conversation that they having, and then they talking about free speech. Now, again, the question becomes, what did Kyrie Irving say? Did Kyrie Irving say anything that he said you can't insult people? Now, remember that what he said. He said that Kyrie insulted people. Now, we're gonna go back and we're gonna see what Kyrie said. Did he really insult anybody? Because the conversation is, I thought it was about him posting a link to the Hebrew to Negro, right? And so it's now changing the narrative to say that he said something, right? And it's like, what are you talking about? He should be suspended. Again, you went from those niggas telling to now you went over here with Don Lemon and you doubling down once again. Like, wait a minute. Did you even know the scenario? Did you really know what was going down? You saying he spoke, but it was about a post. It was nothing about him speaking about anything. Other than the fact that it drew the conversation of the reporter that he did not, I guess he didn't want to elaborate and go back and forth with the reporter, so he didn't say anything. He didn't want to talk about it. So what were you talking about, y'all? You see what I'm saying? It's this misinformation. This is somebody who's speaking misinformation. That was the part you were doing, right? So let's look at this next part because Don Lemon's going to ask him something, right? Because again, like I said, this free speech has a lot to do with, it looks like that somebody is manipulating things because we see what happened recently with Ye and the things he went on Alex Jones and said, and him being forthright in what he's expressing as his love and admiration, and that means that reflects on all of us. And so you got to ask yourself, just like I said about about the Woke Act. Did you know that the Woke Act was only strictly about Black American history and nobody else? Let me say that one more again. The Woke Act that DeSantis was going to start in Florida, and this is the one who wants to be president, was trying to push through with being governor to have stop woke so they can, with the CRT and about our history is being, what is it about Black American history that's offensive when we the one living what that history talks about? And so you want to bridle the truth because what's going to happen is as more people wake up, as more truth comes out there, more things will be revealed, and certain people are going to feel a certain way because they are the descendants of the people. And that means you have also been when you talk about like insurance, you have been the beneficiaries of what has been the benefits, the wealth that has been transferred. And so Black folks are talking about reparations and all these other things, then people like to tell us, well, nobody today was in slavery, but that money and all that wealth that's been transferred and them properties and businesses still exist. So you talk about we ain't nobody with no slave, but there's money, property, and all that still existing. So, okay, who gets that then? Right? So anyway, but let's look at what Charles going in this second part of this conversation. Again, he's advocating for the fact that he should be suspended. He's saying again, maybe talking about the 40, he made it about $40 million, talking about you can't take my money and insult me. And then the other part I didn't mention was he said that, well, Adam Silver is Jewish and you can't insult my religion too. Well, wait a minute. The whole thing was about Kyrie saying that he believes he's Hebrew. He can't be. So they, again, remember I said earlier in the show, remember in the beginning, I talked about this country doesn't believe in a free market. It believes in monopoly. So that means that only one people can be Jewish. Only one people can be white. You get what I'm saying? Only one people can be white. One people can only be Jewish. So you can't be Hebrew. You didn't say Jewish. You say Hebrew. So what they said, no, you can't be that too. That's us too. Wait a minute. The question becomes, is Hebrew and Jewish, being Jewish, is that a religion or is that a race? Is that an ethnicity? Because I always thought it was a religion. Hebrew would probably be a people, right? So we saying being a people, you saying you are of a religion, and then as a religious code, show me where it says that only these people can only be this. Do they have proselytes? Because I believe that's maybe what some of them people, they may say, well, y'all the proselytes. Well, stay tuned. I got somebody who's going to say something. But let's move on to the next part. And I see y'all comments. I will get to them soon. We come right back after this.
Well, people say, well, listen, if I don't get to say what I say, it's cancel culture. And I don't know if you probably do not agree with that.
I don't like using the term cancel culture because I don't want anybody counsel. But you should be called to the carpet if you said something wrong. I don't believe somebody should lose their job or things like that. But you should be called out if you said something stupid. Hey, I've been called out many times, and I have no problem with that. But I hate the term cancel culture because very few people are canceled. Let's be honest and realistic.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Can I ask something real quick that I didn't think? Did you? Maybe you didn't see it, so you might not be able to answer. Did you see SNL? Did you see Dave Chappelle? His monologue?
I did not, but listen, let me just say this. I'm a Dave Chappelle fan. I have a really strict line on racism, sexism, homophobic, things like that. It's just wrong. It's nothing to joke about. It's a very serious subject. Don, it's crazy. I'm almost 60 years old, and I grew up in Alabama, and obviously I know about Montgomery, Selma, Birmingham, things like that. To still be having racial conversations 60 years later, and we're debating whether people have the right to say it and joke about it, it just makes me sad.
Yeah.
It makes me mad, but it really just makes me sad that 60 years later we're still having racial conversations 60 years later.
And more than a decade ago, I do have to say, and then I'll let you guys jump in here because I don't want to hog the conversation. One of the first people to contact me after I came out was this man right here. And that was over a decade ago. So these issues are really important to you, and you always stand up for people's individual rights.
Well, Don, first of all, one thing that always has disturbed me as a black person, which really bothers me about the Kyrie Irving situation and the Kanye West situation. First of all, being black in America is already hard enough. And for us to go at other ethnic groups just makes things worse because it's hard enough being black. And one thing has always disappointed me, black people treat gay people, we are the worst when it comes to treating gay people. And that's one thing growing up, it really always bothers me. And I want to reach out to you and all my gay friends, all my transgender friends, and tell you, man, I got nothing but love and respect for you. I want you to be you. And I wanted you to know that day, because I understand being black, what it's like being gay, because you get mistreated, and it's really unfortunate and sad and stupid, to be honest with you.
All right, so we back. And you heard Chuck, right? Once again, they talking about cancel culture. And primarily, if anybody is to be canceled, it looked like it was people that look like us. When it becomes like, I'm not saying that other people have not, or they try to cancel, but really it gets that momentum and really gets the tabloids and really becomes on the timelines when it's a black person. They try to do Dave Chappelle that. We're seeing Ye being that. We see Kyrie actually got a stay of execution, right? He got a stay of execution. The governor called, said, no, take him off of there. We gonna give him a stay, and he got to stay. So cancel culture is really for those people who are in the limelight, right? The everyday lumping proletariats like myself, you see what they do to me. You see how they bridled my truth. They done kept me where I ain't been hurt. Look, there's a show, African Diaspora, right? Which is Phil Scott. Me and him, by chance, right? By chance, we came on the same day, same year. Look at Africa Diaspora and look at my channel. I ain't even hit 3,000 subscribers. And I've been around the same time, same day he did. I'm not saying that my work greater or anything. I'm just saying you ain't gonna sit here and tell me 365 days, 24 hours, 7 days a week that I can't get over 100 views. So if anybody's sitting here thinking that when I'm telling you some BS, you don't understand the game. And you got to ask yourself, why am I still doing it? I'm still doing it because I know there's things that's got to be said out here. As this brother that sits here, Mr. Hooper, just sent me, and you keep commenting, brother. I better see you as a subscriber to my channel. But anyway, look what this brother said. Let me show what Hooper saying here. He said, "Don't let them run you off. They block you, but you teach just one to open their eyes. That's one more, and he might teach another. I got teach one, reach one, teach one. I get what you're saying there, brother. And that's what it is. I stay in this game because I know. I see a lot of brothers. I seen a lot of people come in. I seen a lot of people bypass me. I ain't got no hate towards that. I understand why you do what you do. Because not everybody gonna come in and say it the way I'm gonna say it. They got the reason what they do. They got their agenda for what they do. I'm just gonna tell you the game for what it is. I got the time, been in living here, understand what the game is, can articulate it, and guess what? That's threatening to a lot of people. So again, you hear me, you ain't subscribed, don't think you're going to be able to keep the name and then go back and find me later, because you're going to go in there and put my name in there, and you're not going, they're going to keep asking, you sure this one? You sure not Miss Maddie Crumb? You sure it ain't this white woman over here? You sure it ain't this person over here? You're not going to find me. So the best way for you to do is to subscribe, and then when I come over here and do it again, you be back over here. Other than that, this is going to be, we're doing a one-night stand. You understand? So anyway, the Hooper goes on to say, only way to keep getting stronger is keep their lies to the truth. So one more, even one at a time, so that the lies then weaken then become, so they keep rolling. Got what you're saying, brother. That's the job that we must do as those of us who becoming elders. It is for us to, if we're going to have channels and we're going to disseminate and depart some wisdom and knowledge and guidance, that's what's going to be laid upon you. And, you know, they don't want that. They want to keep that dissension because, again, the young ones can't see what done happened before them. And they think because they have people in their family, like everybody has family members that sometimes you may not have nobody that got no knowledge. They know things, they have some experience, but they don't have anything that's going to tell you about, you know, things that done happen or can articulate it to you that way. And so when you find brothers and sisters in here like that, it is your job to support, to help them, to keep them going, because you know they're going against the system. And so with that being said, they're not going to like this. It's not politically correct. You see they after about freedom of speech, and how much longer you think I'm going to be here? I done weathered all the storms they done already given. So if you think it's about fly by your, oh man, maybe you just suck and nobody else. You can suck that damn long. You can have that many videos. Really? And then you naive to the game. You better stay over here and wake up. But anyway, we go back to this Chuck business. So here's Chuck saying about that, right? And then Don Lemon asked him, what did you see about what Dave Chappelle said? He says, no, I didn't, but I like Dave Chappelle, you know, and then he goes into this about You know, people are saying things, but you ain't even see what Dave Chappelle said. Now, is he lying, or is the fact that he don't want to admit that, but he got to stay within because he don't want to do anything to disrupt anything that's dealing with his money, the people in them suits. He liked that life. He liked that money. And he's saying, I'm a 60-year-old man. I grew up in the South. So that gives him the validity to say, I know what racism is. I know what it's all about. Not you knew once today. You don't know what I know. And so, you know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, the life is good. You know what I'm saying? What he did, he was wrong, and that's the way it should be. And you can't be playing out here and insulting people. And it's like, well, what did he say? What did he say? You ain't said what he said. You just keep saying he said something. But you ain't got nothing to prove that what he said. You saying he said it. But nobody can prove that he said any damn thing. The only thing you can say that what Kyrie actually said, this is the only thing that Kyrie did say. Check this out.
Are you sorry for the hurt that your posts caused people?
I take my responsibility for posting that. Some things that were questionable in there, untrue. Like I said, and the first time you guys asked me when I was sitting on that stage, I don't believe everything that everybody posts. It's a documentary. So I take my responsibility.
It seems like Adam Silver wanted to hear the word I apologize, or in your mind you said I didn't mean to cause any harm. Were you apologizing or did you not apologize?
I didn't mean to cause any harm. I'm not the one that made the documentary.
What are the specific things in the documentary that you don't believe are true and that you don't believe represent your morals?
I think some of the criticism of the Jewish faith in the community, for sure. Some points made in there that were unfortunate.
Kyrie, are you surprised that you did hurt people?
Surprised that I did hurt people?
Are you surprised that reaction and some of the things that you did hurt people?
Yeah, I think I can ask a better question. It's just, where were you when I was a kid, figuring out that 300 million of my ancestors are buried in America? Where were you guys asking those same questions when I was a kid learning about the traumatic events of my familial history and what I'm proud to come from and why I'm proud to stand here and why when I repeat myself that I'm not going to stand down, it has nothing to do with dismissing any other race or group of people. I'm just proud of my heritage and what we've been through. And the fact that this has pinned me against the Jewish community. And I'm here answering questions of whether or not I'm sorry or not on something I didn't create. And it was something I shared. And I'm telling everybody I'm taking responsibility. Then that's where I sit. So, you know, these same questions that you guys ask, me dealing with it as being a melanated, pigmented person all around the world and dealing with racial biases against my skin color, demeaning me because of my religious beliefs, and I'm still sitting in the seat standing. So I take my full responsibility. Again, I'll repeat it, for posting something on my Instagram or Twitter that may have had some unfortunate falsehoods in it. But I also am a human being that's 30 years old, and I've been growing up in a country that's told me that I wasn't worth anything, and I came from a slave class, and I come from a people that are meant to be treated the way we get treated every day. So I'm not here to compare anyone's atrocities or tragic events that their families have dealt with generations of time. I'm just here to continue to expose things that our world continues to put in darkness. I'm a light. I'm a beacon of light. That's what I'm here to do. You guys ask me questions about basketball, I give you my expert opinion. You guys ask me about other things, I give you my opinion, and it's met with whatever you believe the perception or the deception is. You guys investigate my life every day.
Right, so did you figure out what Kyrie said now? Did you really hear this time what Kyrie said? Kyrie said, okay, look, I take responsibility. Yes, there were some things that were in there that could have been offensive to them, and I, as a man, take responsibility for that. Okay? I don't know what more else you want from me. I've apologized. I'm apologizing again, right? And so that's what you heard, right? But what you didn't hear that went over a lot of people's head is, did you hear how he said, with the 300 million? He said, where were you when I was growing up asking the questions about whatever happened to the 300 million of my people that happened in the history of my people? Oh, now y'all know what he was talking about? Oh, you know what he said now? Oh, now y'all know what he said now? Do you know now? Do you know now what he said? You didn't know what he said before, but did you hear that now? Now, did you hear it this time? That what he said? He said he was talking about him being a black man and being proud to be a black man. And that what did happen to me and how this system has continued to do what it does to people like myself on a daily basis, and how you taking my platform and you're trying to turn it and make it to be about something else. What did he say? What did he say? A lot of people didn't catch that part. You missed all that part. Then he went on and said this.
And you justify it by serving your own purpose, which I honor. I would like the same respect in return. Figuring out just like anyone else. So please keep that same energy when we're talking about anti-other things. Because just because I post a documentary doesn't mean I'm anti-Semitic. And doesn't mean that I'm automatically standing with everyone that is believing in it. So it's unfortunate timing that we're in, but I'm glad that I could stand on the truth, because I'm not afraid of these mics, these cameras. I used to be, looking everyone in the eye and telling them the truth, that I'm proud of who I am. Any label that you put on me, I'm able to dismiss because I study. I know the Oxford Dictionary, you look it up, right? Just one of the biggest mistakes I had in being a kid was not knowing European or Western language until I started looking it up and understanding the definitions and why they say, if you want to trick a black person, put it in the book. I was wondering my whole life why they said that. Now I'm 30 years old and I know reading is a superpower because it helps me understand where I'm going and where I come from. Like a tree with roots.
Kyrie, the documentary listed among falsehoods. It said the Holocaust didn't happen. Do you believe the Holocaust
those falsehoods are unfortunate. And it's not that I don't believe in the Holocaust. I never said that. Never, ever have said it. It's not come out of my mouth. I never tweeted it. I never liked anything like it. So the Holocaust in itself is an event that means something to a large group of people that suffered something that could have been avoided. No one said we had to practice racism. No one said we had to treat each other like garbage. No one said that I had to stand here today and understand that many people that come from generations 60 years ago, 40 years ago, enslaved some of my ancestors still, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally, and it's still going on. And you guys are asking me, respectfully, to speak on something that was a documentary that I had nothing to do with. I didn't make it. So just please keep that same energy when you guys are addressing me.
Kyrie, for the record, do you have any anti-Semitic beliefs?
Again, I'm gonna repeat. I don't know how the label becomes justified because you guys ask me the same questions over and over again. But this is not gonna turn into a spin around cycle of questions upon questions. I told you guys how I felt. I respect all walks of life and embrace all walks of life. That's where I sit.
I think what people want to hear, though, is just a yes or no on that question. Yes or no.
I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from.
What does that mean?
I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I come from.
Kyrie, did you personally meet with the ADL?
I was informed that they wanted to have a meeting, and we handled it.
Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to We Up Report. So you can stay up because we're going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, Wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down. Right? So you heard what Kyrie said again, right? You heard what he said. Is that what they were saying he said? Is that him talking about his people, his stance, what done happened, what continues to happen? Is that what he said? Is that what they were saying he said? Is that what they talking about? Because that was the only thing that he said. Did you not hear him take responsibility? Did he not say he's not anti-Holocaust? He didn't hate anybody, but they wanted a yes or no. Yes or no. Yes or no to what? Whether he said, if I know who I am, I can't be the word that you're trying to use. So again, people believe that the United States is an open market. No, it's about monopoly. You cannot be that because we have deemed ourselves to be that. So you have to be something else. You cannot be that. Even though we know what the word means, we understand there's actually 21 families that fit under the word Semitic, but we said only that word fits only this group, nobody else. So you are this because what we say it is, right? So they wanted him to, once again, to commit, but he said, I've taken responsibility and everything else. So him being anti-Semitic, they wanted him to say yes or no. But other than that, what did he say? Did you hear what he said? Oh, Mr. Hooper done sent me something out again. Says sold out, he did. Destroying the youth was something they will take from him at any time. So Charles, is it worth it? Really? Do you look in the mirror a lot? All you gotta do is when he in the bed, when he roll over, who do he see? When he go at work, who feet he kissing? When he look at his own and the one that he produced, who she with? You get what I'm saying? That tell you everything that you need to know. See, that internal thing that some of us have, that in them quiet places that you hate yourself and hate those like yourself and wish you could actually change yourself. You've been that way since you were little, since you was at front of that damn TV watching all those cartoons and all those movies, and you couldn't see yourself. You didn't exist. You had to imagine yourself to be some of these. And then when they finally gave you somebody, they gave you somebody that is a depiction of the liking to their taste, and you had to find the good in that. It's like saying taking chitlins, and we had to make the best of chitlins, even though those of us who come from that, and again, a lot of us know we ain't no piggy no more, right? We done got Muslim-fied and all that, but how we survived, we had to come through that, so we had to eat stuff like that. But we were rooting to the tootin', what Master didn't want, and we had to make it a delicacy, and guess what? We still here today because of that. Right? And so that's the same thing they did, the appetite that they gave us from when we were looking for ourselves out here. We had to take what garbage they gave us and try to find the nugget, that piece of gold to inspire. And then when they take that and then you make something, then they go and taint it up some more. And then they take something, then when you come up with a creation that the Most High has given us, of something that we can reverberate and transmit and communicate, he came in there and he defiled that too. You understand? So yes, what you said. A lot of us can't look in the mirror. Some of us haven't worked that out. Some of us never had it. Some of us just got black today. Right? So you got to have places to come like this and others. I don't know how many around here you're going to find like this one, but you got to have places like that because, again, what did that young brother say? And after all that had said, you seen there was a lot of people who would jump in ship and say, oh, he apologized. He made us look weak. He did what he had to do. He already did. What more was he supposed to do? If they wanted to get rid of him, why didn't they? They couldn't, because I'm going to show you why they couldn't. But a lot of y'all was like, he didn't sacrifice to the full. He did everything except for they couldn't kill him. Do y'all understand that? They did everything they could do to him, was to execute him and get him out the league. But they couldn't, because if they would have did that, they was going to have to execute another one. And he was too big for them to do. And I'm going to show it for those you don't know. But just stay tuned. Stay tuned. Thank you, Mr. Hooper. Well said. Thank you, my brother. Right? So that's what it is. You understand? A lot of us, so what did he say? All he did is he make that stance. He's in that position under them contracts, making that money. And as I said earlier in the game, I told you, like Lot's wife, you cannot look back. Once you climb that social ladder, you're not to put your hand back and try to bring somebody out of there. Let them figure out the way. Let us go into them and find out which ones we choose for our liking, and the rest of them, well, you know, they might be relatives of yours and stuff like that. But you know, but you are special. You're the one we've chosen, right? It's kind of like in the Bible verses that let us go down there. Right? Let us go down there. They make you think that God and some of them, hey, let's go down there and stop them because they're gonna build the heaven. That sound like the white man. Let us go down there and stop them before they build the heaven, because they building everything. So let us go down there and stop them from doing what they doing. You get what I'm saying? So anyway, but Kyrie said what he said, right? He only did is he stood the stance. And so some people say, oh, he didn't get, you know what I'm saying? He apologized. He still got his job. He had already apologized. Now to say he had to keep doing it, well, that was the game they was playing. What more was he supposed to do? Quit? I already did this. How many times you gonna keep making y'all looking bad doing this? But see, the karma came right back. Because remember what he just said. Keep that same energy when it comes to when it comes to my people. And I be damned, did something not pop up? So let's look at what happened right after that. When he said that, they came out with this.
Welcome back to NBA Today. I'm back here with Ramona Shelburne, and let's get right to it. It's been 5 days since the Nets suspended Kyrie Irving after he repeatedly failed to apologize for promoting anti-Semitism. He's since then apologized on social media. With all that being said, Ramona, what is expected of Kyrie before he returns to the court?
Well, the first thing he has to do is not just apologize on social media. He's got to apologize in person, in front of cameras, for people to hear him, because the Nets cannot have another situation where he says one thing, he puts a statement out, but then when he gets in front of a press conference, you have another disastrous press conference like he had last week. The next thing he needs to do is meet with local leaders who can talk about hate speech and understand where they're coming from, to where he goes through that process. He's also got to meet with Commissioner Adam Silver. That was in Adam Silver's statement last week, where he said, I'll be meeting with him in the next week. When I last checked him, that meeting had not been set, but there were still plans to have that meeting. And he's got to follow through on another few remedial steps to make this right before they will even consider having him back on the team. Now, this has been the talk all weekend, Shanae. One, would the Nets bring him back in any capacity, and what threshold will they need to feel that they can trust him again? And two, would any team? I mean, this is a hard one to come back from if teams feel the way they do, the way the Nets did after they suspended him for the conduct that was detrimental to the team. And that's been the talk all weekend long. If not the Nets, then what other team in the NBA would take a chance on him at this point?
You know, when I was growing up, there used to be a cartoon that used to come on called Two Little Indians. And it was two Indians, and then they had a colonel. And one of the Indians could speak like the colonel, which means I guess he could speak English. And the other one spoke whatever, I guess, the language they said they spoke, but this is what they would say. The colonel would talk, and then the other one would be like, blah, 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 right? He'd go, blah, 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 right? So that's basically what we hearing here. We hearing blah, 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 blah. So you need somebody to interpret what the hell she just said, because she talked a lot of blah, 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 right? Again, he already had apologized. Huh? Anita, come over here, right? Come over here. Go get to him one more again. Get to him.
I have apologized. Believe me. Oh, believe me, I do. I apologize. Honest and true.
Right? Nita saying, how many times you gonna keep apologizing? Huh? Is that what they wanted him to do? Because what she said, he needs to get on TV, he needs to get into this, he needs to do this. Wait. He did all this already. He got to do it again to your liking. You remember the 5 Heartbeats when the police pulled him over? Why don't you sing for me? Huh? I got nothing but love for you, baby. Huh? That's what they wanted. And it was like, damn. But everybody kept acting like they did not understand what was it that they want. He already gave you what you want. But that wasn't good enough. Matter of fact, you go back to Stephen A. Smith. Remember he said this?
The Jewish community gets to define what is anti-Semitic. The Jewish community gets to define what is...
Do it again. Go back, do it again.
The Jewish community gets to define what is anti-Semitic, what is offensive to them. They get to do that. In his world, he's saying, no, that's not true. Because y'all ain't the real ones, we are. But then doesn't want to back it up when people are challenging him on it. Why? Because he knows what we don't know.
Yeah. People were interjecting, dropping words in there, things that were said like, what are you talking about? Huh? Matter of fact, he was so bold with what he said, he went and said this too. Now check this out.
It comes down to this. Ime Udoka would be the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets right now if it was not for the latest fiasco that Kyrie Irving got himself into. He would be the head coach right now. He is not the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets because of Kyrie Irving. And that's the shame of it all.
Okay, I do agree with you.
You understand? OGs, when your OGs despise your truth. Wait a minute, don't show that for that one more again. I'll put that up there. Go on, put that up there again. Matter of fact, no, hold on. You know what? Yeah, show that again. Yeah. Right? When your OGs despise your truth, see, you know who buttering your bread. You know where you getting your paycheck from. Can you believe that he would say that Udoka situation was merited by the fact of the situation that Kyrie was in? Really? You put that on Kyrie about what happened with Udoka when Udoka was putting Udoka's business in something else and it was dealing with somebody in the upper echelon, dealing with them owners. He tapping their ex-wife or wife or whatever it is. What that had to do with Kyrie? But see, is he tripling, doubling down? And then he wondered why everybody went at his neck the way they did, right? But when your OGs despise your truth, right? So you have to tell him
You said your people have been fighting for 400 years.
Man, your peoples too.
So I just want you to explain what you mean by that.
You know what I'm talking about. Y'all all know what I'm talking about, man. Don't sit up here and try to bait and not know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what the I talk about when I say these things. Your people too.
Explain it. Not everybody knows what you're talking about.
Radio Raheem, I don't have to explain what's understood, man. You know what I mean by that. You know what I say about that. I ain't got to go further. And if anybody don't understand that, then God be with them. Go look up the history. Go look up the history. Don't everybody believe in Google? Go Google that. See what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about, man. You know what. I dare you to sit up there and say, explain. You know what I'm talking about, man. He's fighting people. You know we've been fighting 400 and still fighting to this day. To this day. To this day. You just sit here, you don't know.
You know, you harmed a group of people. They are offended by what you said because you entitled all of them. So you're under the assumption, I don't know how many Jewish people are in America, 8 million, 10 million, 12 million, 13, I don't know, 20. So you said an entire race of people. Not one or two, entire race of people are bad. Now, if they said 40 million blacks, the entire race are bad, evil, is responsible for this, we lose our mind.
Yes.
Hold on, he did that. Why I got a better brother for what he did?
You should lose your mind. Yep.
the point here is nobody has any problem with Kyrie upholding African American history and legacy and heritage.
Yes.
And that was the thrust of what he was trying to do.
Right.
Unfortunately,
Yes, sir,
it's at the
yes,
expense of several religious or cultural groups.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, sir, Skip. I got no problem with that. I'm as unapologetically black as they come.
Agreed.
I will support mine.
Yes.
But I also will call out mine when they're wrong.
Yes, sir, Skip. I will support mine, but I will call them out too, boss. Yes, sir.
You know that's bad when that one when he would say that about you, you know that's bad, right? He ain't in no category to be saying nothing either. You know what I'm saying? Black Cramden, right? For those who remember the honeymooners back in the day, that's Black Cramden right there. But anyway, right? But you heard what you heard what Shannon said. Again, Shannon had to revert and pivot too, because we was getting in that ass too. That he felt, he heard, and he had to pivot and turn back around, right? But then he said something. He said something that came up out the corner and said he was unapologetically black, right? Unapologetically black. Now, recently, unapologetically black is in some trouble. But remember when he said this?
Build America, black people built America. Chinese ain't build America, black people built America. Jews ain't build America, black people built America. Mexicans ain't build America, black people built America. Anglo-Saxons ain't build America, I built America. So don't talk to me about no damn minorities set-asides, because I'm not no damn minority. That's for your immigrants. I was not an immigrant. My ancestors were important. My ancestors were imported. My ancestors were not immigrants. My ancestors were imports. Remember, you didn't even consider them people. Remember, I am not an immigrant. I am an import. And as an import, there is no other group you can lump me in with.
Has recently been under this microscope for some stuff he done said. So anybody says some of these things, sometimes we're going to have to kind of question and put and say, hey, well, okay, we hear what you said, we feel the energy and all that good stuff. But then when you say, hey, you know, FBA, ADOS, Black Americans, Italians, Indigenous, and Moors, I don't think y'all should be getting reparation unless all of us get reparation. Well, wait, we in the land that we've been through with our ancestry, so I don't understand what you're talking about, because Pan-African is about 20 lifetimes before you're going to get everybody like that. When you talking about them, they got too much over there. They got to be dealing with them over there. But we got a better shot. We've been going through what we're going through, so why are you hating on us? Boy, ain't that something that people really don't want us to get us our bread? Because they said, oh, no, y'all get y'all money, then we can't be. Remember what old girl, Adida, what's her name, Aida Rodriguez said, being the bitches? No, everybody wants us to be the bitches to everybody else. And we saying, no, we ain't going to do that no more. So you know how it goes. So let's see what somebody give me a comment here. Let's see this comment here. Say, Mr. Hooper once again. He said, well said, you're welcome, homie. Thank you. Great channel. I'm out, homie. I'll definitely check you out again. Great stuff. Okay. All right. I like that brother there, right? Hopefully see you again, brother. Come by again as always and anybody else. Hopefully nobody's offended. If you're not black, don't mean that we sitting there, we hating on you. That ain't what this is about. We just got to sometimes tell that truth the way it is, because again, they're about to close the shop and we ain't gonna be able to be saying too much too soon. And maybe later on they probably hold me to this and say, hey, look what you were saying in there. But what did I say? I'll be like, Kyrie, what did I say? Oh, because you doing the same thing Kyrie was doing. Okay, but anyway. But anyway, in that little bit, you heard where they were going and was saying, hey, look, he said that. Why should we as a whole group? That was Shannon was saying at that time. Why? He said that. Why should we have to be holding that? You see what I'm saying? When you the company, man, under them contract, you got to feed, what they say, don't feed the animal. But in this case, they got to feed the animal, because otherwise, how you going to keep getting that check? And so what was crazy was I seen this, and then check this out. I seen this show. Check this out.
Dismayed by his repeated failure to, this is a quote, unequivocally say he has no anti-Semitic beliefs, end quote. With Kyrie later issuing an apology for his social media post last week about a book and movie that feature anti-Semitic tropes. Kyrie had refused to apologize during a post-practice media session earlier Thursday, and the Nets subsequently said Kyrie is, quote, currently unfit to be associated with the Brooklyn Nets. Here is some of what Kyrie had to say at the presser.
I'll take my responsibility for posting that. Some things that were questionable in there, untrue. Like I said, and the first time you guys asked me when I was sitting on that stage, I don't believe everything that everybody posts. It's a documentary. So I'll take my responsibility.
So that was at practice, not the presser. On an Instagram post late last night, Kyrie wrote, part of what Kyrie wrote, quote, to all Jewish families and communities that are hurt and affected from my post, I am deeply sorry to have caused you pain, and I apologize. Now, I'm Jewish, and to me, once someone's, unless you want to do a deep dive into the subtleties of his own personal beliefs, including religious and sociological and political feelings, at a certain point you turn the page. To me, when the issue with Kyrie that we're really talking about here is Kyrie. Whatever other point you want to make, if a documentary quotes Adolf Hitler about the Jews as having some kind of wisdom, you should probably understand that's not something you want to amplify, even if there are other parts of it that you like. I think what people really want to know is, don't you understand that's disqualifying? And if people want to go down that path with Kyrie, have at it. To me, once he says what he said and released the statement he released, I would turn the page. I don't know if the page will be turned, though.
All right, so that was Max Kellerman, right? Right? There was Max Kellerman, and they had Jay Will, and I think it was Keyshawn Johnson. And so you heard Max, being as a Jewish man, said what he felt. And then did you see how, in a spiritual way, what he was trying to set up? Now, remember, I just played for you prior the interview. But remember, he said, after refusing to apologize, right? And then he played the clip. What clip did he play? Did he not play the clip that I said? What did he say? But then he said, oh, that wasn't the one. We must have played the one at the first one. No, it ain't, because that was what they were talking about. What he said when he talked about being his people, 300 million, the fact that would you continue to persecute his people and what they go through, and all, that's what they were holding him for. Not about the link. That was over with. And then when they wanted to get the yes or no from him, but when they heard him say that, they said, oh, wait a minute, this is pro-blackness. What's all this about? You can't be pro-black and be taking our money. As Charles Barkley said, you can't insult me and take my $40 million. You insult me. Well, insulting you is anytime you remind somebody about the things that you as a group, matter of fact, a lot of people like to use Black Americans as some kind of community. Y'all like a lot of people say, oh, the Black community. No. Let me tell you something. Black Americans is a nation. Let me say this one more again. Black Americans is not a community. Black Americans is a nation. Do you know? I can show you. I ain't got on this one. I will show my next show. When you look at all the populations of the world, Black Americans is in the 28th to 30th of all the nations on the planet. We are a nation of people inside of a nation. That's why we have the swing in politics. That's why we can swing when we get in things, because we are a nation in here and we try to act like we some damn community. Do I need to say that again? We are a nation in here. We're not a community. We may live in neighborhoods and community as people, but as collective, we are a nation in here. We are over, they say 46, let's say 46.7 million of us. You know they undercount us. You know they don't count all of us. So if we 46.7 that they admit to, I'll say 56 million, 60 million. Oh, I know somebody, he done lost his goddamn mind. Oh, he know he lost it. No. You a nation up in here. And you got to start acting like you a nation in here. And that's why it's funny that people come in here and they be trying to make us, again, as Adida Rodriguez said, the bitches. We try to be the bitch to all these other lower people coming in here, riding off our shit and acting just like we got to be subservient to you when we the nation in here. You and everybody else came from somewhere else. This is our homeland. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what it was. Kyrie, you can't say that. You can't incite that. You're trying to incite them to believe in that. And that's not what we teach. Our schools don't teach that. Our school tell you we came from the transatlantic slave trade, and right? Oh, I know somebody left. I know you're gonna leave. You ain't want to hear that. It's all good. But that's just the point. So he said that to say what? That even though that he apologized and he even admit to the fact that he done already did it and they should turn the page, but he believed they won't because his attitude, what he was standing for, what he was saying was not to their liking. You cannot be pro-black and be in those positions. You have to be the black man that they subscribe and want only for their own people. You get what I'm saying? Not too threatening, not too vocal, not too rough, not too tough. You got to be that kind that I can leave my kid and play with you and I feel safe and won't nothing happen. You get what I'm saying? And so we see that Shannon, you know, the NFL ex-football Hall of Fame cat doing what he did. And when social media got in his back and got on him, and then he had to go on that next day. Do y'all remember this?
LeBron was right. I believe the punishment went beyond what was necessary. I believe it was excessive. That being said, he would have apologized, came late, he apologized. He would have served his 5-game suspension. So now what? What do you want now? What do you want now? I mean, what is it now? Where do we go from here, Skip? So what do you want? You want him to grovel back? You want him to take out a PSA in the New York Times, the Washington Post? What do you want him to do? You want him to take out an ad, buy a 30-second spot on one of the major networks? Is that what you want? You said you want an apology. He apologized. You wanted him to serve 5-game suspension. He would have served that. So now it would be time to allow a Kyrie to come back. I hope Nike revisits this. They Phil Knight said, you know, I think it was probably done, but Skip, after maybe a month or two of suspending the relationship, I hope they revisit it. Because I don't believe Kyrie should have lost everything the man worked so hard for because he posted something to his link. He was wrong. I believe he was wrong. The community that was disparaged believes he was wrong. So, but Skip, I believe it's enough now. I believe Kyrie would have paid a severe penalty. I believe it's time for him to come back.
I appreciate everything you just tried to say, but it's offensive to me for many reasons. And I think you are risking insensitivity just as LeBron just risked more insensitivity.
How?
The link that Kyrie posted, you're suggesting was only insensitive to Jewish people, like other people don't see how that's that insensitive. The examples you gave aren't remotely close to what the link that Kyrie posted. They're not even remotely, they're not even in the stratosphere with what Kyrie posted. And when you post a link like that, you are not only endorsing, you are promoting said link. And I don't want to hear the excuse of he didn't know. He is highly intelligent. He knew. You said yesterday he knew. Yes. You said yesterday you doubted the sincerity of his apology. That's what you said yesterday.
But Skip, an apology is not whether or not it's sincere. You said, I need you to apologize. He apologized. How do you know what's in a man in his or her heart? Do you believe every apology that's ever been rendered was sincere? Because now you're saying he's lying, or you say, so I need to believe. So every person that apologizes moving forward is a liar because based on what you're saying.
I mean, you said he wasn't sincere, so we can only deal with this one this time.
But Skip, it doesn't matter. They didn't say it had to be sincere. They said he needed to apologize.
Okay.
You see how he reverted? Skip, he said, remember what you said? You the one said that. See, when you're in those positions, family, that's why you have to be mindful when you in those positions of power or sitting in them seats that can have, as you be a spokesperson for us or in a position to speak on behalf, you know, you deal accordingly, but you always take care of yours. It's like they say, stand on code. But nobody's teaching what the code is. I know we speaking in the open. I know anybody can hear it, but shit, again, it is what it is, right? How can people know code if ain't nobody telling what the code is? So the code means that, okay, it should have been common sense to know that under that situation, what should have been said, but in the heat of it, when it first came out and it saying the unspeakables, can't you said them and everybody's gonna get in line and jump into what they're supposed to, and you heard what Shannon had said. Wait a minute, if he said it, why don't we all get in trouble? So all that stuff you said, now you gave him cannon fodder to shoot back at you when you now you repivoted and said you was like in a Cool Hand Luke or Life, because Life was like from Cool Hand Luke. Remember when my cornbread, right? When Eddie was getting whooped up, and then my man was like, he done had enough. That's enough, right? Now you've seen Cool Hand Luke is the same thing. He had enough. Take him inside, right? So same thing here. That's what Shannon was like. You done whooped him enough. You done beat him enough. Because why? The sixth man, the ear, the society, the people was speaking and had that boy in there trying to talk and defend himself. And he knew deep down in his spirit and his heart that he was not right, that he know he didn't take the right stance, right? So he tried to defend. And he said, even your best shot, Shannon, it's not good enough. Then he did the old collective. You know, sometimes you get in an argument with somebody, they get a weak argument, they grab other people. Well, you know, it wasn't just sensitive just to this group that speak about, it was also to us as well, right? But what did he say? Oh, the post offended them too. Because why if you does not speak about, if you're not part of that, how did that offend you about the link? Because it said that you trying to associate yourself to be the Hebrews? Was that offensive? Or was it still kind of connotatively speaking about the fact that what he said in that conference when he was sitting there saying about what happened to his people? Was that offensive? See? You know, connotative language. They're saying one thing, but they mean it's something else. And so we seen that. And so here was Shannon had to say this. Now, I want this other part to be heard because I believe they suspended Shannon after this show. I'm gonna tell you, I believe he got suspended after this show, because after that show, did anybody see that Skip had did his own little show by himself for a few days? You didn't see the show on? I believe they went in and suspended Shannon ass for that shit. But let me show y'all something. Let me finish it up. Hold this. Take it out.
He apologized after he got suspended and after he lost his shoe deal. And you can't tell me it wasn't spurred by the fact that it was hurting his pocketbook.
Yes.
That he was shocked that they actually went to the lengths of suspending him. And then further, that he lost his shoe deal and his next big showcase shoe. My point to you in the big picture, and I know this is a slippery slope, you have to make sure that Kyrie realizes the depth of posting that link to Jewish people, the fear that it caused, not just the hurt, the fear that it causes because of the potential encouragement of hate crimes.
Okay.
So that's why even LeBron's post, I love him for all he does socially, but I don't think he has a real feel for this, or he wouldn't post that. He would just stay away from it.
But Skip, here's the thing. You can believe someone said something wrong and can believe the punishment is excessive. Why do they have to be why they can't be?
To me, this is just me. I think you have to go at least double-digit games of suspension. I believe he stepped completely over the edge here in trying to uphold African-American heritage and culture. It was at the expense of Jewish people and to a certain extent Christian people. Not that there's hate crimes that direction, right. But I'm just saying this film and this book also suggests that the whole Bible was a lie invented by Jewish people and Christian people. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it's so heinous to me, the potential for this, that you have to send a message to not only the other NBA players, but you have to send a message to everyone in this country. This will not be accepted anymore because it's way too dangerous.
Well, let me tell you why some of the black people are rallying behind Kyrie. and Kanye. It says that because when blacks have a misstep, it seems like we suffer the harshest penalties. It seems like other groups offend blacks, and they never suffer the penalty that Kyrie and Kanye have suffered. I remember when Bob McNair said what he said. What did they do? They went and trotted out one of the most prominent black coaches in the circle. And nobody said, well, when he said the Bob McNair that I know, that's not in his heart. Nobody said, hey, Tony, he's going to speak like that in front of you, like you just said about Kyrie to Adam Silver. You see, it seems to us, and it seems to me, that as black people say...
So on McNair, what are we talking about? What he said, the inmates run the prison or something like that?
Yeah, and it's the asylum. But anyway, he said the asylum. That's what it was. Yeah. But Skip, here's the thing. It seems like to us, a lot of us, not all, some of us, a large portion of us, is that black are bound by shackles. We're held more accountable for our actions and our words, where our counterparts are with cobwebs. They're easily brushed aside. Shannon, he apologized. He or she said they were sorry. Why can't we get the same benefit of the doubt? Kyrie was wrong, but I believe Kyrie was wrong, but I also can believe the punishment was excessive.
Right. Okay. Right. So again, Shannon had to go on the defense. He had to go on there because his people was demanding. Otherwise, the verbiage that was being spewed, he couldn't sleep at night. That's when you know that some people have the right stuff in them. Yes, they do what they do, but they got the right stuff because you can get to them. They can say those things that you're going to hear somebody else going to say that he didn't care what we said. But in this case, you've seen it. And guess what? Am I wrong? Maybe somebody could tell me. Did Shannon and Skip do anything about the Jerry Jones? Because it's funny what he just said would have been perfect for that, wouldn't it? Been perfect, right? Because when they went to Bob McNair at this time, and now you had to come back for Jerry Jones. I don't think they did a show. And if they did a show, I noticed that after they did this show, you couldn't see that show. They did not show it unless somebody had recorded it. You can't get what you just heard. They didn't hide it. And then, as I said, that show didn't come on for a couple of days. So I wondered, did they suspend Shannon for 3 days for that? Did he get suspended? Because you know what he said after that? He said this. And I bet you can't go find this. This is what he said. Listen to this.
I don't speak for everybody in the black community, but let me tell you why some of the black people are rallying behind Kyrie and Kanye. It says that because when blacks have a misstep, it seems like we suffer the harshest penalties. It seems like other groups offend blacks, and they never suffer the penalty that Kyrie and Kanye have suffered. It seems like to us, a lot of us, not all, some of us, a large portion of us, is that black are bound by shackles. We're held more accountable for our actions and our words, where our counterparts are with cobwebs. They're easily brushed aside. Shannon, he apologized. Why can't we get the same benefit of the doubt? Kyrie was wrong, but I believe Kyrie was wrong, but I also can believe the punishment was excessive. After what President Trump has said about the American Jews versus the Israeli Jews and what he's tweeted and what he's posted, and he ain't got canceled yet. So don't give me that if this would have happened, if that would have happened, because we've seen in instances when they have done things, they've never been canceled. That's what we do. They cancel us, no questions asked. There's not enough apology. Kyrie can get on his bended knee. He can come to the people in the most humble way he know how. Bow head, humble heart, and bent knee. And that's still not enough for some.
Hey, you sitting here watching the video. Why you sitting there? Put your hand on that like button, click it, thumbs it up, share this video, comment. You can like or dislike it. We don't care about that. And also, if you ain't over here and subscribe, what you waiting on? Get yourself over there and subscribe to get on up to We Up Report. So you can stay up because we're going to keep you up. That's how you help keep this channel going. You can also do some monetary donations. We'll tell you about that later. But right now, wake yourself up, like, share, and comment. And don't forget, when you subscribe on that button, hit that put all notifications. You know how YouTube get down.
You know I need
believe that Shannon Sharp got suspended after that. It just didn't make the media, and nobody knew. It was kind of quiet. Now, if you don't believe me, go look. You'll see you see Skip Bayless does his own private show that he's over there talking, but they didn't do no show after this. So I kind of wonder, did they give him you take a couple of days off for what you just said. You got a little bit too passionate. You said something. You talking about what President Trump said about you understand? Mums was the word. Did it happen? Will it ever be revealed? Maybe, why not? But it was just ironic. But you can't find that episode. You can't get what you just heard there. And normally they would post their show. No, they not showing that. And if they do, they got somebody who's blocking up everything, right? So I just wonder, does Shannon really extend itself? Now, we're not saying that gives him a pardon and none of that, and then he had to pivot and backtrack. But that's a lesson for them that under that situation to learn. If you would have been in the beginning making the meeting of mind of the situation, then you wouldn't have had to get there because you would have already been there from the beginning. But to have jump out and just said what he said, and he didn't say anything, and then the way they was twisting it and turning it and making it, trying to fit that square peg in that round hole, you got caught in a bad position, and then not knowing that your people was going to do that. And then he just said something today about the situation that's dealing with Deion Sanders, which I might be doing tomorrow. I normally don't do a lot of sports, but because it's having to dealing with the racial aspect of me being the whiteologist, I will do it. So, but the point was, Shannon had to pivot and backtrack and try to do it. And then if you've seen the show after this, he had a different demeanor. It was kind of like, he got chastised for that. So, but that's what happens in these situations. And you said the right things. When we in these situations, it's like it ain't enough. You can grovel, you trying to measure how much I'm really sincere when no one has never ever apologized. They got a fake 2010 talking about they black. They apologize to black Americans for slavery. They talk about the Tuskegee experiment when they had Clinton do what he did. They got all these fake things that they keep saying. They keep telling you emancipation freed the slaves. All this stuff, right? But ain't nobody really done nothing. Symbolic, yes. A gesture, token, yes. Tangible, no. Right? You don't get that. So it's funny. Again, we talking about when your OGs aspire your truth. So they went and got another OG. They went and got an OG that they said, now he know he's an activist. He's been doing this. And look at what he does.
New reporting about what it will take to get Brooklyn Nets point guard Kyrie Irving back on the basketball court this evening. Irving has obviously been suspended for his comments and his social media posts surrounding an anti-Semitic documentary. According to Shams Charania with The Athletic, the Brooklyn Nets gave Kyrie Irving a 6-point checklist detailing the conditions of his return. That includes in part apologizing and condemning the film, making a $500,000 donation to anti-hate causes, completing training that addresses sensitivity, anti-Semitism and hate, meeting with the Anti-Defamation League and Jewish leaders, and actually sitting down with team owner Joe Tsai. That follows ESPN reporting that for nearly a week, Tsai, quote, kept extending the clock to give Irving a chance to get this right for himself, the franchise, and the Jewish community, and Irving never returned a single one of his text messages, unquote. I'm joined now by an NBA legend and outspoken advocate for social justice issues, KAREEM ABDUL, number 33. So good to see you again, KAREEM. What should it take for Irving to return to the court? What do you think of this list of requirements?
Well, I think Kyrie has to understand what's happening. He's being unwittingly used to promote hatred and anti-Semitism. And even though he doesn't see himself as being anti-Semitic, by joining forces and making posts like that, he can be used. And I think that's what's happened.
So they went and got Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, right? Captain, right? All-time leader, scored the NBA, championship, was a pillar in the game, right? And you heard what Kareem said. Kareem said, well, I believe that they kind of using Kyrie to kind of spread anti-Semitism, which I think he kind of agree they doing that, right? But see, the problem is they didn't bring him on there to do that. He did that initially, but then just prior, before all this took place, do you know what Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had said about Kyrie? Oh, y'all don't know, do you? Huh? Let me show you something. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar calls Kyrie Irving, Alex Jones tweet, what happens when education system fails? He had did this article on Kyrie talking about Alex Jones and saying about about the flat earth and really what Kyrie had posted about the Alex Jones was about I think it was about secret societies, right? Cults and secret societies. And he said they exist and he believed in it and so forth. So here was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, prior to all this happening, was already going at Kyrie and saying that he was making ball players not the dumb jocks. He's putting detriment on them. He's believing in things that it's not the status quo, and he don't understand that what is wrong with the educational system that's making. Wait a minute, you have people out here who are doing their own personal research now. All the education and information that people get are not coming out of the institutions. We know that what the institutions is there for. If you ain't figured out, you gonna figure out, right? And so sometimes people doing their own personal studies can go further into a subject more in depth than when you get it in university or in schools. And so they are digging, seeking for that buried knowledge, they're obtaining that, reciting that, and it may not be what the system or status quo is. And so that doesn't mean that that information is wrong because you find it. It's just that it's not going to be what is going to be politically correct in acceptance. And so why demonize the young man? Here you is, an OG in the game, instead of you using that platform to say, well, correct them in such a way that, I too, at once time, I believe in certain things. And then, I kind of changed a little bit. That's what growing pains do. But no, y'all went in being company men, right? But that ain't what he did at this time. But this is the reason why they brought him on the show. So let me show you what they did after that.
You're not new to this fight. 2 years ago when Philadelphia Eagles' Deshaun Jackson tweeted anti-Semitic comments, you wrote in the Hollywood Reporter, quote, if we're going to be outraged by injustice, let's be outraged by injustice against anyone, unquote. It seems to be a similar circumstance here, the same kinds of tropes from Deshaun Jackson, Kyrie Irving, Ye, aka Kanye West. Why? Why did they all seem so similar?
I think the lack of awareness of the harm that they're doing, both to the Black community and to other communities, the LGBT community, the Latinx community, all of these marginalized communities are all really in one lump. If we don't try to protect everyone, we won't protect anyone. We have to have that attitude about it and make sure that all marginalized groups receive the same protection as the groups that are used to getting that protection and feeling safe.
I saw a post by a Jewish American saying that Jews are in a way in a bind here, in a catch-22, if they do something, if they protest the kinds of statements that Kyrie Irving put out there, which is, that documentary is full of invented nonsense and lies about Jews being Satanists and that sort of thing. If they protest and there are consequences, then supporters of Kyrie Irving say, oh, look, see, Jews are powerful. We're not allowed to say anything about them, blah, blah, blah. And if Jews don't do anything about it, then the hate just continues unfettered. It's really a no-win situation.
That's what you heard, right? So Kareem is just kind of going with it. Then going with the politically correct talk that everybody need to be protected, and the LGBT and all the minority groups. But Black Americans is the first group that all other groups siphon off of, tethered to get anything that they got. But yet, when they come, when they ring in the table to come sit at the table, they don't get to sit at the table. They let everybody else eat first, and then here we come to get our share, and we have to see whatever's left. Going to a buffet and say the buffet started at noon, but you know how CP times is. Sometimes we coming late, so we get there about 2:15, 2:30. We get there, ain't number of scraps left. But the buffet that the employers have for, but we came late. Had us still working while everybody else was gone, and then that's what we coming in to eat, and that's how it's been. But see, you can't never say nothing that in the forefront that is all specifically about Black Americans and what they ain't getting. You have to always be inclusive. So he said, well, what is it that's with this Ye posting about the stuff, and what is this thing that Kyrie, and then he said Deshaun Jackson. I'm like, wait, Deshaun Jackson. That reminds me of what Max Kellerman said too when he threw in the Hitler trope, and I was like, where this coming from? What did I haven't seen the Hebrews to Negro. I just read the Rolling Stones article, right? I read the article where most of them, where they got the information from, they didn't see the 3 hour, they didn't want to get stabbed up like that, and they're not going to read a 4-volume book. So they got most of the information from the Rolling Stones, and the Rolling Stones basically showed this. This is what they were showing. Let me show you what they showed, right? Kyrie Irving boosts anti-Semitic movie peddling Jewish slave ship. See, they said slave ship. They didn't say nothing about Hitler. You know what I'm saying? And then he said, "Oh, they saying that they all are Satanists and all that." You can't say there may be some, right? Because the Balfour Declaration specifically says the Zionists, right? The Zionist group of the Jews is the one that signed that Balfour, right? They the one signed. So. And a lot of people, when you do that research and seeing some of the stuff that's put out here, they do have some, plug-ins with that. So it's like you can't say all of them not, right? There's some that might be, but you take the sum for them to be none, and then when it comes to us, it's only an individual. When they do some stuff, it's never the whole group, but it's the whole group when we do something, it's the whole, right? So it's like, but anyway, but that's what they showed. So I was like, well, what was they talking about? When it came to that, you remember the Deshaun Jackson? Is this what they really was? I want y'all to see this. Look at this. Look at this. And you read that for yourself. That was the thing that what the Deshaun Jackson put out there, right? And with that being said, I didn't understand why Max Kellerman mentioned that, because I didn't know how that fit into with Kyrie. And then we heard this conversation here with KAREEM Abdul-Jabbar, and they was talking about this. And it's like, is this, remember, because Max Kellerman said, well, if anybody should use that poster, is disqualified because if he said it and even if he had some stuff that might have been good that you might want to use, everything is being discredited. Well, that's just like saying that some people, people who lie a lot. Somebody who lies all the damn time, right? And in that lie, yeah, they lie for that moment or that situation. But does everything they ever said, all of it is a lie? And again, this ain't no moment to sit here. He swore. No. I'm saying, is there no good or is there no truth? Even in the most lioness ass person or the most hated person, can they say something that can be true? And does that discredit their truth because how they've been marred, or even if they actually did the things that have been said? But does that take away from that? I think the Bible talking about even the criminals don't give their own children snakes to eat. They do right by their own, right? So even a bad person does good for their own, right? So we get that, but I didn't understand when they started talking that Deshaun Jackson. I'm like, the only thing that Deshaun Jackson put out there was that letter. And so in that letter, as you said and may have read, What does that got to do with anything? Is there any truth to that? We don't know. But the way that they act and the way they went out and the way that Skip said it was offensive to us as well. But then they said what he said, and the only thing he said is in that conversation about black folk. And then you talk about what Deshaun Jackson. So I was like, man, what is this really about, right? So it's kind of funny though, right? You know, but I'm already going on the 3-hour mark. I didn't really want to go this, but today will be my last 3-hour plus video. After that, I will be doing short versions, but I appreciate all y'all being here. But what's funny is I want y'all to see this. You know, should I? Yeah, let me go here. Check this out. Okay, I want to take y'all back to when we want to start. Okay, let me see. Let me let you see it first.
Before we get into the Nets' handling of Kyrie, Amari Stoudemire, 6-time All-Star, joining the conversation. Amari, you bring a very unique perspective. Obviously, we all know the success you had with Nash on the court, and then you were an assistant on the Nets, and also you're a black man who is Jewish. What was your reaction to Kyrie?
I mean, my initial reaction was, what I've noticed throughout the years of Kyrie is that he's a guy who's really trying to find his identity, right? He's on this quest of searching for information and knowledge, and while acquiring this type of information, he got to be more mindful of doing more research, checking your sources, reviewing before you actually, you know, promote anything. It. Right, exactly. And I think that's something that Kyrie's probably lacking right now, is that he's not really doing the full vetting of what he's promoting, and I think that's getting him into trouble.
Absolutely.
Amari Stoudemire, right? Okay. You know, good player, so forth. You know, you end up going to Israel, playing for them, in Quest, being there, learned about that he was part of the Israelites and took up. So that means that Amari Stoudemire is considered to be a black Hebrew from Israel, taught and raised by the Israelites of Israel, and been studying for enough that he has become an advocate. So he would know whether the things that he just said, that he said, well, yeah, I acknowledge the fact that Kyrie is in Quest and that he needs to vet more about the information that what he said. Now, okay, that's right. You know, those of us who've been in churches, and when you first come in or somebody first come in, you know, they say take them and put them in the closet, right? Because when they get that newfound truth, they beat everybody ass up with that truth. Am I right or am I wrong? They go and they put the Bible on everybody because they got that new knowledge and they fervent, got that zeal, and they say, right, that ain't with the Bible, right? So you have to put them in the closet. So, okay, we get it. So he got some new information and he might have jumped the gun. Now, that's you as a seasoned veteran who've been studying and under the tutelage of those who they say this is their game. Now, I want to take you to a time that they had him as an ambassador and they wanted him to do something. And I want you to hear this real quick. Check this out.
You know what the situation is that amongst the African-American community, there's not a lot of leadership. And so they gravitate to a leadership factor that help keep people off the streets, right? So Farrakhan is seen as one of the leaders in the African-American community. And I think there's a lack of leadership right now in the community, so people are gravitating to what they see as the leadership of that community. But I do think, you know, with me being in a position where I am, where, you know, being an African-American Jew who's learning at a high level, I think there's a narrative shift that's happening. I think there's a time where there's a situation where, you know, there's an education component that needs to happen now, you know, especially for the next generation to understand, like, this is, you know, we have to figure out a way to now, you know, somewhat teach the next generation on, you know, positivity.
You really seem like you can be somebody with all that's going on, you know, within racism and anti-Semitism that really could bridge the gap between the Jewish and the African-American communities. That seems like something that you can really be a big help for.
That's the idea, bro. That's the idea, because right now I think there's a lack of leadership within the African-American community. The ideal of love and kindness resonates throughout the entire Torah, right? Without the entire scriptures, right? There's more similarities with the African Americans and Jewish people than they are differences. And I went over a few of them. The Holocaust and the transatlantic slave trade. There's post-traumatic stress between both from those events. You think about all the persecution is always the Jews or the blacks or the colored or whatever the title was. You know, you look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. You look at this situation and they both are Semitic people. They both are. There's so much similarities here. I don't understand why there's so much, you know, because you know what it is? It's lack of education. And so that's what frustrates me the most, because now it's a matter of educating to clean up all this diffusion and hatred to get rid of this anti-Semitic.
Right? Ain't that something? Right? Now, have a brother there right here. I got make sure here. Man, this nigga crazy. You know what I'm saying? Now, what's funny is, now remember, he just went on the show. He talked about Kyrie and said how Kyrie needed to vet about the information and that he needed to study some more. But then when he was a spokesman and they had him out there say, well, you could be a great advocate. And, you know, I've been studying, I know this. And then he got to that part where the truth, you know how sometimes somebody be speaking and then that damn truth fall out their ass when they were trying to hold that shit back. Well, that's what happened here. Stoudemire ass was trying to be, he wanted to go with the program. He wanted to go with the structure of the script. And then what happened was the truth fell out. He started saying, you know what? I don't understand it. We both are Semitic people. We both, right? So I reiterated that several times to let you hear. He even admits that Black Americans, according to what they saying in that game, that Black folks would be also Semitic people. So remember when Kyrie said, how can I be anti-Semitic if I know who I am? And here is a person who they came on personally and put him on there to validate that he is Jewish, he is Black, he know what he's talking about, and yet he also has said that Black people were Semitic people too, right? You see what I'm saying? How that truth just still fell out. And then you heard at the end, if you kind of heard it, somebody slammed the damn book. One of his handlers was like, God damn it, what the fuck did you just say? God damn it, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened here. So it's funny. See, you don't go with the status quo, then what ended up happening? They want your ass out of the way. So you're not supposed to say that. You're not supposed to put them on equal footing. You're not supposed to put Black people in a position of something that is prominent and great. You only can put them in the light that they want to portray them in the movies, in the songs, and stuff like that, right? But to try to say that they God's chosen people, oh hell no, we can live with ourselves. But if you go back to what Deshaun Jackson put, and whatever that page is, because I did some research, they said there's a book out there called The Nazis. Go on Amazon, look it up, The Nazis, and go read some of those, what they call those things, I guess you give your suggestion or whatever it is, you approve of the book or whatever, and you'll read, and there's somebody in there says that quote about that situation is in that book. And they say, fact checker tell you that don't exist. You get what I'm saying? Now again, I'm not here. This ain't me promoting what I'm talking about Hebrew and that ain't what. No, I'm just saying I did a little due diligence. I didn't get to the book, but I went and read, and then somebody back in 2016, who was before all this took place, said that they gave hallelujah and praise to the Most High for that what they learned that was up in there. So I don't know. Maybe it's not in there. Maybe that person was just making that up. You understand? So then you have to say then what was being said in there, and it said if that's said to be true, and if they do find out, and that white folks find out that you've been having the God's people amongst you all the time, and you've been mistreating them like that, then you don't find out you've been duped. So I guess everybody is going to be mad at somebody if shit turns. But that ain't what we about. That ain't what black folks about. We ain't sitting here wherever everybody worry about us, right? About we doing something, everybody doing shit to us, and we just sitting here just trying to maintain. You know what I'm saying? We just trying to maintain. And so we always get this shit that everybody trying to put us in that position. It was crazy as hell, right? So anyway, that's kind of funny that he went and said that, right? Again, being an OG, being in the game, instead of helping, which he didn't help kindly. Why he didn't say nothing at the time about, well, you know, black people are Semitic people. He said it before, but when he had the opportunity there to say it, for some odd reason, he couldn't say that. And if you looked at his eyes, he kept, whoever was there, the handler, he kept looking at him. I say it right, Mo? Did I say it right? I say it right? Okay. You see what I'm saying? So that's how it goes. When you in the contracts with them, you got to play that game the way it is, right? Because we got to look at it like this, man. Let's look at it like this. Look at it like this. As you see on your screen there, right? This is the census. Take that back to 1860. You see over to the far right there, 4,441,000. I think that's 680. I think that is right. That's how many Black Americans was in this country at that time. 4,441,680 or 30, whatever that number. I can't see that, right? So the thing is, we come from that. Them our ancestors. I don't see no Indians on there, but this is the number they counting. Where the Indians at? I don't see no Indians. I see that count that 34,000 or 44,000. That's in Alaska. Where was the ones that was here? And you know you supposed to have counted those that was on the 5 civilized tribe nations. So I don't see them counted. So I wonder who the 4,441,630 might be. Right? You know, you took 5 out of all of them and took them 5 to make them be the only ones. And these other ones, we're going to be the prisoners of war, and we're going to change their name later on to be, they're going to be Negroes. Okay, that's another scope for another time. But anyway, right? So with that being said, you know, so everybody kind of apprehensive. Hey, these bugs are starting to wake up and trying to figure out some stuff. So we got to stop all this, right? All right, fine. That's fine. So those who don't study, who don't know, and then you being OG and being in a position, and then when some truth come, you're going to be put in a compromising ass position. You're going to be looking like you trying to really doing what's right because you got to do what's right for them. And then your people will get in your ass because they say, hey, man, what's wrong with you? Don't you ain't up? We won't have to be that way because I ain't around you like that. So what it is, again, back in the old days, you could say that, and then you had to be seen. Only time you get seen is on the holidays, you know. So now the way it is now, if you get called out on social media by everybody, by our nation of people, and they calling you all kinds of names and calling you all kinds of this, your ass got to go home to the family. And when you come there, everybody gonna be looking at your ass like somebody stink up in here, and they're gonna be you, and you ain't gonna feel comfortable. And Big Mama, I can't call, they're gonna talk about me. You understand? So there is an effect. And this is why they say they got to bridle this. Because we making those tools who used to be used to remote control us is being reversed. We're reversing it, and they're not liking it. So free speech is on its way to be checked, y'all. This remember, you heard it here. So now we go to when Kyrie come back. And to go through all that here and all that being said, Kyrie comes back. And the day after he come back, this is what they do.
Did you ever have any fears, doubts, whatever, that you would never get this chance that you guys wouldn't be able to work through this and get you back here to playing for the Nets again?
Never had a doubt.
Hey, Kyrie. There was a group of about 100 people outside wearing the shirt of a group called Israel United in Christ, a group labeled as a hate group by the Southern Poverty Law Center. They were outside in support of you and handing out anti-Semitic literature on the plaza, people walking by. And I was wondering if I can get your reaction to that.
I didn't see it. What happened? There was a group outside?
There was a group outside, 100, possibly more. They were wearing a shirt called Israel United in Christ. They're a group labeled as a hate group by the...
I think that's a conversation for another day. I'm just here to focus on the game.
Kyrie, but you've said this whole time that you didn't know what kind of what kind of voice you had. But if these are the people that are out here in your name, do you feel like that's a consequence of what you've done?
Again, I'm just here to focus on the game.
Kyrie, forgive me if you've been asked this already, but when you were suspended, there were a lot of players around the league, Jaylen Brown is one specifically, that didn't like the way your suspension was handled. I'm just curious if you ever thought about filing a grievance or exploring those avenues at all.
I got to leave that to my legal team and leave it to the warriors I have around me. I have some strong people, men and women around me that are going to do everything possible to make sure that I'm protected and my family's protected and we protect one another. So, I'm sure some things will be done in the future, but there's no timetable on that right now.
Hey, Kyrie, I know you said you just want to talk about the game, but this morning you talked about recognizing the platform you have, wanting to unify. You're being asked about things that are being said in your name in reaction to the movie you promoted. I'm curious, I guess, how do you go about deciding when's the time to use a platform and when's not, and when you decide you're going to react, and when you say it's one here to talk about basketball?
I would like to be on a platform where I could openly share how I feel without being harshly criticized or being labeled or dealing with, outside perceptions that have nothing to do with me. Again, I said this morning, I just want to elaborate on just everyone getting to know who Kai is and who AI is and what I represent in my tribe. That's it.
Thank you. All right. So soon he come back, first thing they want to do, they go right back into the whole thing that the whole ordeal was all about. Y'all want to right back in there, try to get him back in that situation once again. Wasn't it done? Shouldn't it have been done with? Shouldn't have been no more conversation about that? But no, they had to try to do it again. They're still trying to find that soundbite. They wanted to get that one more shot at it. One more shot. He came back. He was, you know what I'm saying? He was on the cross, went for more than 8 days, and came off the cross and back in there. Like it came, hey, Kyrie, are you surprised that you're even back? He's like, no, I never was in doubt that I was coming back. That was in doubt. See? So, you got to say, Kyrie, for a lot of people, some people say he apologized too much. Some people can understand how the game is played and understand that he played the game to the fullest and survived the sacrifice, survived the execution, right? He did. And matter of fact, to the fact that they were still at this moment trying to still find that moment to put him back in that box, talked about those that was outside, huh? Man, they remember talking about, he said, they got the ISUPK mug outside there. Do you think that your words incited them? Wait a minute, that group been out there. Matter of fact, that's where he got the information from, right? Wasn't it one of the people from that organization that made the Hebrew to the Negro? So why are you trying to make that him as a basketball player incited these people based on something he posted? Well, that was their literature. That was their stuff, right? But here you was again, trying to do what you do, always trying to get somebody caught up. But you know what they didn't tell nobody when you seen them out there? Did y'all know this? Did you know anything about this? Thousands of rabbis gathered for annual group photo in New York. The date on that is going to be, they said, the 20th of November. Ironically, November 20th is the same day that interview with Kyrie was happening. So they had 1,000 of these rabbis was gathered for an annual group voting that was down there in Brooklyn. And guess where they was going to come out and protest it? Let me show the picture they showed them. They was coming to protest because he was not supposed to be able to withstand, because nobody gets to withstand when the unspeakables come for you. No one gets to stand after they come at you. But you got to ask yourself, what prevented Kyrie from they couldn't full execute? What was it? What was it? But they was out there. But from what I was told and heard, I ain't gonna say told, but what I heard through some videos and stuff, that they didn't come because they was out there. You know what I'm saying? They was out there. So that would have been a hell of a clash to have them as them rabbis out there with those of these ISUPK. But they put that stigmatization on them and said that, and I'm pretty sure they weren't gonna go out there because they done made them say that they, the person who they said that shot up the those people that killed those people, they associated them with the group. So, you know, the black label was, them niggas will kill you if you go over there, right? So they weren't going to go over there, right? But the point was they went out there because they were supposed to have been out there to protest because, again, he was not supposed to have been withstand what had happened. So I seen Jon Stewart come on, and then he says this. With all that being said, this is what Jon Stewart has said.
Penalizing somebody for having a thought, I don't think is the way to change their minds or gain understanding. This is a grown-ass man. And the idea that you would say to him, we're going to put you in a timeout. You have to sit in the corner and stare at the wall until you no longer believe that the Jews control the international banking system. Like, we have to get past this in the country, the ability to, look, people think this. People think Jews control Hollywood. People think Jews control the banks, and to pretend that they don't and to not deal with it in a straightforward manner, we will never gain any kind of understanding with each other. And if the point of all this is then to heal people, the only way to heal a wound is to open it up and cleanse it. And that stings. That hurts. But you have to expose it to air. And I'm afraid that the general tenor of conversation in this country is cover it up, bury it, put it to the outskirts, and don't deal with it. And what I would say is, you know, look at it from a black perspective. It's a culture that feels that its wealth has been extracted by different groups, whites, Jews, things. Whether it's true or not isn't the issue. That's the feeling in that community. And if you don't understand that that's where it's coming from, then you can't deal with it. And you can't sit down with them and explain that being in an industry isn't the same as having a nefarious and controlling interest in that industry and intention, right? And that's been the anti-Semitic trope. But you need to be able to meet people from what their community is feeling as well.
Was Jon Stewart saying his part, and you heard him admit the fact that there is, you know, disinformation that, or people denying the fact that what we all know to be true, and that it seems to be like, as he make the correlation to a scab or a wound that need air so that it can heal. It gonna hurt, it gonna sting, but they will heal. And it's like, it's kind of crazy to think about, like, to say that you control and own, and somehow that's a negative aspect when, you know, black people talk about trying to get their own businesses and want to have their own companies and so forth. We don't see that as being bad. So in other people, they're seeing that as something bad because, again, of a history that is not here, that's somewhere else that you attributed to here, that somehow that what happened to you somewhere else is going to happen to you here. We don't see that, and I know black folks don't feel that way towards you as a group. Maybe some individual things that people have with their problems. Again, it look like a lot of people dealing with contract have their issues, but primarily that's not the stance that we take. Now, the problem is this scab or this wound, we may find out when we dig in there that what parts that people played in, and people don't want to be revealed that. I think that's really whatever his bottom line goes down to. A lot of people do not want to reveal their parts into the condition that black people are in, have been, and how it's been, you know, legislators, you know, just say sanctioned the way it has been. And nobody wants to be accountable because then when you look at them, because there's an old saying says, I hate you more because you know I done you wrong. Let me say that again. I hate you more because you know that I done you wrong. And so it's okay to put us in the negative light and make us be the bad guys and make black people always be, you know, the stereotype, the negativeness, killing each other. But when we find out and dig into this wound that where your people have contributed as a people, then we may not be as bad as y'all have portrayed us it's because you had your hand involved in it, and nobody wants to take that part. You get what I'm saying? And so that's what John was saying to some extent, but he's trying to. You tried to cut me out of here. Look at you. Ain't that something? See, that's how you know. That's when you know what it is. They sitting up in here, you in here cut me out, thinking they're gonna knock me up out the game. Wow. See? Because you ain't heard nobody say it to the way that y'all needed to be spoken to y'all. You so used to having everybody who you control and who you have under your spell and under your contract, because they ain't gonna never say it to you right. Y'all know what y'all are. You know what you do. So this ain't no hate talk. It's just what it is. It's that freedom of speech that you don't want to hear because you don't want to hear how you played your part. So there you do. You're using it, hiding behind technology, doing the things that you do. That's all right. We're going to move on. We're going to move on, right? So let's go ahead and get to the end part here because I did way too much and I should have been on here, right? So let's okay. Remember I told you we're gonna get to this. We're not even gonna go. I'm gonna say that other part for the next day. All right, we got to go back to the boomerang. Remember I told you about the boomerang and the reason why Kyrie Irving didn't get executed? Check this out. This is what Shaq said.
Cleared it up. I mean, people may have questions for you. You know what I'm saying?
But listen, I don't give a what they do. Ooh. I stand on what I say, and I say what I say, and I mean what I say. See, right. in this life, listen, there's 8 billion people here. You gonna like it or you're not gonna like it?
Saying the thing he's saying, he didn't give a fuck about how people feel. You gonna like it? There's 8 billion people here. You like my stance or don't like my stance, and then give us the big finger, right? See, it's easy to shit on black folks as a group when you on the other side because why? They shitting on us, so it's easy to side with them and help them shit with you. But see, the problem is if you ever get in trouble, you're gonna be the same people you give the finger to is gonna be the people gonna be looking for help. So that's why they say you don't spit in the wind. Spit in the wind, the spit come back at you. And so that was him saying what he said. And then he says this, and we already looked at this part, but listen what he said.
I'm glad that you found yourself. I'm glad that you're studying this religion. Amari Stoudemire has been doing this 20 years, and he's been studying. He's been dedicated. I'm proud. I don't mess with people's religions and what they do. You believe what you believe, and you stand on what you believe. That's what you're supposed to do. But when you put yourself in jeopardy, you got to be smarter than that. And that's all I was saying when I said idiot, because sometimes you gotta pay attention. But see, a lot of us, when we get this money and we get these followers, we think we know everything. Oh, hey, look what I'm learning, and what you learning ain't right. You need to do this. Boom, 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 boom. So yeah, so to all the people that said, oh, you played in your theater? Yeah, I played in my theater, but I didn't grab my phone with 100 million thousand people and say, do this and do that. You got to be careful with these phones. Social media is a powerful tool, but you have to practice some type of responsibility with that.
So we heard what he just said. Yeah. You didn't put it on your phone and put it to a link and post it for millions of thousands of people to see. But what's the difference between posting on the link on social media than putting it on a brick and mortar movie theater and promoting it in the community for the same stuff? So whatever was played in there ain't no different than what was on the link. It don't matter about how many people seen it. It was the fact that you played it, correct? So if you played something like that, then don't you understand now why Kyrie got a stay of execution? Because what was good for the goose had to be good for the gander, because if you can say that he posted and trying to make the reference to say the difference between how many people would see it it's not about the numbers. It was about the fact of the posting. So you promoting it and playing it in your theater would have been the same as posting it. So what they came with him with, they were going to have to come with him with. Now you understand what I'm talking about, why they didn't do to Kyrie. Because, and then he goes on before I show you this. Then he goes on with Stoudemire, which we already done covered the Stoudemire part. And Stoudemire even stumbled the fact that said the same thing that Kyrie said, that black folks are Semitic people too. So even the person that you use a reference to say that he knew more than Kyrie actually is validating the same stance that Kyrie was taking. But you wouldn't know that. But I understand the position. You're on the contracts and you have no choice. So, and then he says this last part here.
You know, and then a lot of people, well, you played it at your theater. No, yes, I did. Because as an African-American theater owner, if you bring your film to me, I'll let you play it. But like all films have sort of controversy, and like, I love gangster movies. I'm not going to watch a gangster movie and then grab my phone with 30 million people and say, hey, you should go watch this movie, kids. You see what he did to the boom, 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 boom. Y'all should go do that, right? So if he would have paid attention and watched the movie, you should have known that one line, that one thing that they said, that right there was going to cause a storm with everybody.
Now, again, that's his own words saying that, right? He understands that movies have things that people are not going to like, right? He like a certain type of movie, but he's not going to promote the movie and tell everybody to go watch it, but he put it in his theater. What's the difference between posting and putting it in the theater? And then posting doesn't mean the fact that I want everybody to view it in the way, or put it this way, information is information. You extrapolate, again, they say the fish from the bone, the nuggets, the good part. Not everything, every book you read, a lot of times you read books and shit like watching paint dry, right? And then you finally get perked up when you get some pertinent information. Oh, shit, that's what I'm, yes, you know, right? Not every book is going to be nugget after nugget after nugget after nugget. No, it don't work like that, right? Sometimes paint drying. Right? And so there could be some things that you don't agree, something that might be misinformation, and there may be just a piece of nugget in there. So if you promote, that don't mean you agree with in the entirety. You even said that. You didn't agree with the entirety. So that means that you knew that answer, but when you got on those niggas telling that night, right? TNT, those niggas telling, and when you said that, you knew the answer already. You could have actually downplayed and took some of the spark off and said, you know what, that same movie, I played it in my theater. No, you didn't know that, but you just said just there, he knew that one line. If that one line, well, that if you knew that one line too, maybe you should have had put a memo out to all the NBA, hey, don't nobody in the NBA, to keep yourself out of trouble, don't play this damn movie that ate the Negro to Hebrew, because they saying some wild shit. Don't put, right? He could have did that, but he didn't. And then when he had the mic that time, he played him off and called him an idiot. So again, he threw that boomerang out, and guess what? The boomerang came back. Insufficient fund came back to him. And so because of him was the stay of execution for Kyrie. How you know that, Mr. Blow? How can you say that? Well, you know that, now again, I ain't nobody here to pocket watch. I'm not in no man pocket to watch what he making and all that. That is my business with that. My business about the OGs and they despise your truth. I don't talk about nobody in particular per se. I talk about the events and the situations, and we elaborate to bring some understanding for those who might be younger, and then those of us who are older who understand that, right? So Shaquille O'Neal has $400 million fortune, but did you know he sold the rights to manage his name and likeness to Authentic Brand Group. Now keep that name, Authentic Brand Group. That's who Shaquille O'Neal, sold his name and likeness and gave it to some company, sold it to them. So they get the brand off what his legacy is, right? That's how he got his money, okay? And the fact that he's a spokesman, a huckster for, that's why you see him with Papa John's, you see him with the General Insurance, you see him, all those things that you see Shaq, and you keep saying all them commercials, is because he's an investor in those companies and become the spokesman for them. So he has accumulated his wealth. So that means he has a plethora of corporations that he's assigned to. Now you understand why they had to back up off Kyrie. Now you understand why they backed off Kyrie, because if you had executed Kyrie, you were definitely gonna have to execute Shaquille O'Neal, correct? So to show you, check this out. Now remember that, what was the name of that group again? The name of that group is called what? Authentic Brands Group. Not too long ago, this was in the article too about them, right? Layla Ali prevented from trademarking her name by a company that owns her father's likeness. Now here's Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, who got her own legacy. She not her father's legacy, she got her own legacy. And guess what? She was trying to make money and promote her own name and brand, and they were suing her, saying they were pursuing her to prevent her from using her own name, because the name that Muhammad Ali, guess who owns Muhammad Ali's name? Oh, the same group that got who name? This Authentic Brand Group that got Shaq name, got Muhammad Ali's name and likeness. You understand? Ain't that something? So that's you understand? That's okay. So check this out. And then I seen this. Father versus son. Shaq company blocks son Shaquille O'Neal's trademark claim from his own name and likeness. His own son can't use his name because, like father, like son, your name just like your father's, but you can't use it because it's going to make infringement on the brand of what we done bought from your pops. You messing with our money. You understand? So, yes, he done gave his name and likeness to some company. Go look who Authentic Brand is and go see who owns it. They'll tell you he is, second, and he not owner, but he got a lot of stock in it, but he ain't the owner of it. So you understand? So it'd have been irreparable damage if that would have boomerang would have came back and destroyed him. He was gonna get all them brands and names that this was associated. Now you see why Kyrie didn't get what he got. Do you understand now? Do you understand now? Okay. So as we hit the 3:38 mark, let me go and then we're gonna finish this out. Right? So it's really more to play on this, but I don't want to do it. But I just want to go and do this anyway, because there was more to play on here. I may say this for the next show, but we're going to end it out on this. Just like this cat here said this. And again, we're going to end it out on this. Now, we know Stephen A. Smith went all out when it came to Jerry Jones. Remember this?
I'm pretty pissed off. And let me say this. I'm pissed off, but not for reasons that people would think. I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones, and I'm not hiding that from anybody. Is his record perfect? No. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. One report, our report, said he was 14 years old. Yeah. Another report said he was 15 years old. At minimum, that's 65 years ago. You're going to bring up a picture of Jerry Jones standing at this protest. No question what was happening is not something that anybody as a black person should be appreciative about. We had 6 students at that particular North Little Rock High School that was trying to desegregate the school.
No one should be okay with it.
Nobody should be okay with that.
Regardless of
We
race.
understand that. We get all of that. We also understand what we as black people and as black folks, black men have to deal with. And by the way, to some degree, we still deal with a lot of things, and we all know it. Racism is alive and well. Bigotry and prejudice is alive and well. We get all of that. What I'm saying is, here's the part that bothers me. You want to get on Jerry Jones and his track record, fine. In 2003 or so, you know what? You should have hired, Dennis Green shouldn't have got an interview on the phone. It should have been an in-person interview.
Right.
You should have followed the letter of the rule or the law as it pertained to the Rudy rule. He wanted Bill Parcells, universally recognized one of the greatest football coaches we've ever seen. It was clear he wanted Bill Parcells. Nobody else was going to have a chance of getting that job. That's what he wants to do. You want to malign him for that? Fine. You want to point out that he's one of 7 black NFL owners that's never hired an African-American as a head coach? Fine. Do all of that. Attack him for that. Go ahead. Yeah. No problem. I see a plethora of African-Americans employed by him. I see black players who played for him who rave about this man and what he's done for them on a personal level. But if you want to go by his hiring record when it comes to head coaches, no problem. Can't go the executive route because we know it's him. You know what I'm saying? He want to be the president, the GM, the owner. He want to do everything. And then he's got his children that he leans on as well. So he can't go the executive route. But you want to get on him about the head coaches, fine. But you're going to bring up a photo of him when he was 14, 15 years old. 65 or 66 years ago. This is where cancer culture gets into the mix, and you're making an attempt to eradicate him, what he stands for, and all he has done. I will remind you, we've had Senator Robert Byrd, who passed away a few years ago, that was a member of the KKK. We've had other politicians, whose record, who didn't want to segregate, who didn't want desegregation. Right. The George Wallaces of the world, the Bull Connors of the world, and others, okay? We've seen all of this. We've had elected officials on Capitol Hill that are implementing and legislating policy that affects our lives. But we're going to go to Jerry Jones. And by the way, I don't have a problem with the photo. Yeah. I don't have a problem. If he was 30, 35, 40 years old, that's different. Right. 14, 15 years old. 14, 15 years old. Right. So now some folks are going to get to look at Jerry Jones, and who's from Arkansas. It's the South. We understand what the South represented. You understand what I'm saying? Remember, when slavery ended with the Emancipation Proclamation, you talk about 1863 and what have you. What did Dr. Martin Luther King talk about? Well, you didn't give black folks nothing. You ridded slavery from them, but you gave them no land. But you gave white peasants from Europe land in the West and the Midwest, okay? So we understand from an historical perspective where it all comes from, what the South represented at least once upon a time, and in some people's eyes still to this day. But we're going to lean on somebody when he was 14, born and raised in the South, and we're going to pick it up 66 years later to say, you know something? Yeah. You ain't hire a black coach. I think that's pretty low. I really, really do. I think that part is pretty low. If he were an adult, that would be different. But a 14, 15-year-old kid raised in the South who literally is just standing there looking, and we use that to bring up in the year 2022. Oh, this is where you are. You got to explain this. You ready to explain what you did? You were 14? Yeah. How about you? Right. I can't. I don't know if I want to, especially how the world would perceive it today. Yeah. And I'm 55. Yeah. This man is 80. Yeah. 66 years ago. Come on, y'all.
The enemy has only images and illusions, behind which he hides his true motives. Destroy the image, and you will break the enemy.